Episode 81, The Forgotten Music. Mark looked at Luke furiously and clenched the knife in his hand. Ha! I knew it. You can't live. You have to die. Luke frowned. He felt he had touched the wrong nerve with Mark. He clenched his jaw and said, "Don't be rash. Let me finish first. Evelyn helped me previously, and I know about the past. That's why I wanted to talk to you. I know that someone has tampered with her memory, but I said nothing to her because I am still trying to figure out the full story. If the memory tampering is for her own good, I will say nothing. I just want to see her happy." Luke lowered his head and said with some shame, "To be honest, I have always felt guilty. The funeral was where I saw her from a distance, and I ran away. I have never seen her since then. This has been one of my biggest regrets. Seeing her, someone that has been such a good person toward me, and just being so cowardly, is something I've had to live with. So, can you think about whether you should kill me after we talk?" This startled Mark. He raised his head and looked at Luke as he could get a clue from his eyes about if he was lying or not. It was easy to tell if it was true, or if he was making up lies to save his own life. Luke said it calmly. He was not afraid of his death. Mark thought for a while and threw the knife on the table. He said coldly, "Since you know our past, I will tell you what happened after the funeral." Luke's expression became serious to the point of looking nervous. He had missed out on those moments and regretted it countless times. He always thought that if he had stayed around by her side, maybe he could have helped her. Mark looked at Luke and said, "After the funeral, she had a mental breakdown. She couldn't sleep for days and nights in a row. She was in a daze, and all she did was cry. Sometimes she would throw up after eating, and then she would feel hungry and eat nonstop. She had insomnia and was struggling with her health. It went on to the point where even the doctors were scared she could die. Therefore, her memory was altered to help her get better." Mark looked at Luke and said firmly, "I couldn't let her die, so I made up a dream scenario and told countless lies. But I don't care. I just want her to live. Even if she lived in a dream, time would heal everything. Even if she woke up one day, it wouldn't matter. By that time, she would have already crossed the path to health again and be in a better place. She could overcome the sadness. You did all this for her, but you were only a teenager that year. Luke was shocked. Mark said coldly, "I will do anything for her. Since you know our past, you should know if what I said is true or not." Startled, Luke lowered his head. Mark had done so much for her. He differed from the cowardly man Luke had been who just ran away. He was only a teenager, but still brave enough to stay by Evelyn's side. In the darkest time, he was the one who remained with her. Luke suddenly realized that he did not have the right to judge if Mark was dangerous because if he was a cold-blooded killer, he was still the person who had been by Evelyn's side in those lonely years. Luke felt an indescribable pain in his heart. He seemed to see the teenage boy holding her hand while she was getting thinner and thinner by the day, tortured by mental illness and soul-crushing grief. He was gone then. He had turned and fled, and after all the time that had passed, it was too late to go back to her. Only those who had accompanied her on her journey through time had the right to intervene in her affairs. Only then would they have the right to decide how best to help her. "I understand. I'm sorry," Luke said. "I knew nothing, so I wanted to help her, but it seems like I didn't need to. I promise you, I won't tell her anything about the past. Why should I trust you? I will never allow her to have a trace of fear or worry in her life that I can't control," Mark remarked coldly. If he couldn't come up with a convincing reason, he knew Mark would kill him. "You go to the Green Mountain Cemetery every year on the anniversary, right? You place their favorite flowers on the site and make sure to clean up the plot," said Luke. It startled Mark. "How did you know?" Luke smiled bitterly. "I felt depressed because of the cowardly escape I made, and have tried to make amends in some small way. So I go to the cemetery and hope that Evelyn is out there happy. I am not qualified to interfere with her life. You have always been with her. Obviously, everything you do is for her good, so I will not disturb that and ruin everything. If she lived happily, it would be fine, even if she forgot the past. Because if she remembered, He would not know how to face her, nor would he know how to face his embarrassment. He had time to think about it as he knew they would meet again. Luke's words made Mark hesitate. He lowered his head and thought for a while. Then he picked up his blade. He wasn't a killer for no reason. If Luke wasn't a threat, he could let him go, and he wouldn't bring him any trouble. Mark stood up and said, "I believe what you said. I can let you go. But you may not seek her out." Luke paused for a moment, then his pupils contracted. He raised his head and said with some surprise and bewilderment, "Could it be that you are—" He let the sentence hang as shock registered on his face. Mark nodded. "That's right. You also know that we are not siblings at all, and this is all done as someone that loves her as only a man can love a woman. Please know, I will not let you go the next time. This is not a warning, but a threat. Although you are the mayor, you are not someone that I fear in the least." Mark turned and walked towards the door. He was never afraid of admitting his feelings to anyone except Evelyn. After leaving the house, Mark felt a little better when the cold air hit him. He still did not tell Luke the truth about what had happened in the past. The cause of her illness and everything that had happened after that was not something an outsider was qualified to know. A single person had shouldered all of that darkness. He thought of a passage he had once read. "There is no sun in my sky, always night, but not dark, because something has replaced the sun. Although it is not as bright as the sun, it is enough for me. With this light, I can treat night as day. I have never had the sun, so I am not afraid of losing it." He walked in the night, but it didn't matter. As long as he could continue to be by her side, everything would be okay in his world. As he walked towards the place where he had parked, a red sports car sped past and stopped to roll the window down. The woman in the car looked at him seductively. "Hello, gorgeous. Why are you still hanging around outside at this late hour? Do you want me to take you inside? We can warm up this chilly night." Mark looked at the woman coldly. "Get lost. I'm not interested." After saying that, Mark continued walking forward. In this world, no one but Evelyn could catch his eye. She should be at home by now, asleep. Mark looked up at the sky and thought of her, but didn't know she had other things in her life that she hasn't shared. She already belonged to another man and would not have anything to do with her brother. The next day, Evelyn did not wake until 9 o'clock and found that Harvey had already awakened and was nowhere to be found. She scratched her head, figuring that maybe he had gone to work. After getting out of bed and washing up, she put on the new clothes Harvey had left out for her and left his home. When she stepped out into the hallway, she heard a violin music that had filled the house. Evelyn looked down the stairs and saw Harvey sitting on the sofa, reading a newspaper leisurely. This sort of feeling was a bit mysterious. It was like a newly married couple enjoying a day, just relaxing together. No, what was she thinking? There had to be a limit to what she would do with this man. Her face turned red and she bit her lower lip as she walked down toward him. Harvey raised his eyebrows when he heard the voice. "You're awake? What do you want to eat?" "No need. I have to go back to my house," Evelyn said. "You can go after breakfast," Harvey said, closing the newspaper in his hand. "Do you want to have an omelet or something else?" Evelyn's heart skipped a beat. She said in a low voice, "Let's go with the omelet and juice if you have it." Evelyn couldn't help but wonder if Harvey had brought other women back in the past and spent the night with them, and treated them to a meal the next day as a courtesy. It shocked Evelyn that she thought of being jealous of her boyfriend and an imaginary ex-girlfriend. "Evelyn, stop. Don't let your imagination run wild. What are you thinking?" "Okay." Harvey did not know what Evelyn was thinking. He stood up and said, "I will make the arrangements. I need to go to the study. If you are interested, you can look around or sit here and watch TV." "Yes, okay," Evelyn replied and let out a sigh of relief. After Harvey went to the study, Evelyn took a peek around the living room. This was her first time walking around just taking things in. The room was large, filled with music, and the sun shone through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Evelyn saw a piano on the far right side of the living room. A stand next to the piano had musical instruments on it. Evelyn stood there and couldn't help but wonder if Harvey played all those instruments. Evelyn blinked as she imagined him sitting in front of the piano in his tuxedo. Evelyn looked over and finally laid her eyes on the violin. What a great violin! Evelyn's eyes lit up, and then she covered her mouth. Why did she suddenly feel a strong pull toward the violin? It was strange because she had never played a violin before. Her heart was beating quick. This kind of excited feeling made her feel familiar with this instrument, yet a tension seized hold for no reason. Suddenly, as if moving through time, the room changed, and she could hear an arrangement she was familiar with playing in the space. In a flash, she could clearly even remember the name of the piece somehow. It was Edward Elgar's Praise of Love. It was a piano version, but she knew they played it with a violin, and every note seemed to beat in her head. Evelyn stopped and turned around. Under the sun, the violin shone with an alluring luster that could make one's heart race. I want to play. Why? She had never played the violin before, but it felt natural for her to play in her mind. It was almost uncontrollable. Evelyn reached out and took the violin in hand. She placed the violin on her shoulder and pulled the bow smoothly and naturally across the instrument. With each finger on the string, Evelyn closed her eyes. Lightly strumming the strings, the music miraculously flowed smoothly. This was not supposed to happen, because she didn't know how to play the violin. She thought she probably imagined she could play, but the music flowed from her so naturally. Harvey looked at Zach's document in the study and walked out after a brief review. He planned to accompany Evelyn for a while. After all, he had let the company know he wouldn't be in this morning. Every moment with her was amazing, and he didn't want to waste precious moments at work when he could spend them with Evelyn. Harvey walked out of the room and heard music playing in the living room. He was in a good mood and looked down from upstairs to see what Evelyn was doing. He did not expect to see Evelyn playing the violin. Under the sunlight, the way she pulled the bowstring was indescribably elegant, like a master painter moving his brush on a canvas. Harvey's heartbeat became chaotic, and his pupils contracted. He never knew that she could play the violin, nor did he know that she had such a side to her. From the moment he met her, he only knew that she was a woman who could be so much more under his tutelage. She had the beauty of being able to occupy the biggest advertisement board in New York, but she had covered up all of this during her normal day. He did not know that she had such a talented side to her. Now that she was playing the violin, she was transformed into someone he didn't recognize. Beautiful and accomplished, into someone he had not imagined previously. Harvey slowed down his pace and walked down step by step. Evelyn kept playing the violin until the end of the Praise of Love. She slowly opened her eyes, and it was obvious she was very confused. What was wrong with her? She hadn't played the violin before, yet she could play it perfectly. Why was that? She suddenly saw a house with a courtyard filled with stunning flowers. Someone was watering the flowers. The sound that came from that house in her vision was the sound of a violin. Where? Why did she have that kind of clear vision of a place she didn't know? There was a round of applause. The sounds startled Evelyn, and she came back to her senses. She saw Harvey standing to the side of the room with a huge smile. That was an impressive performance. I didn't expect you to play the violin. Do you want to play a song with me? Evelyn looked at Harvey's approving smile and replied in a panic, Sorry, I took your violin without permission. Actually, I don't play the violin at all. I don't know what happened just now, but when I heard the music, I felt I might be able to play, so I tried it. It's so strange. I am not a prodigy or something, am I? Even though she kept a smile on her face, Evelyn felt strange. What exactly is going on? Harvey was stunned for a moment. As smart as he was, he immediately thought of what he knew about her being hypnotized. He did not think it was a miracle that Evelyn knew how to play the violin. She must have known how to play before. However, she had forgotten about it, but she still remembered it instinctively. He needed to investigate her and her brother's past more in depth. Evelyn had a stupefied look on her face, which led him to believe the answers must be with that brother. Who was Evelyn? Who was that person Evelyn kept seeing in her vision? How was that elusive fragment of memory connected to Evelyn's past? Mark had used hypnosis to alter Evelyn's subconscious, but was the effect of hypnotism wearing off now? Were these visions hint that Evelyn was about to be flooded with memories of the past? Episode 82, In the Face of Death. Sensing Evelyn's confusion, Harvey decided to step in and alleviate her perplexity. Maybe you saw someone play a violin when you were a child, or listened to the music so you remembered how to play it. Children are wonderful at learning and can sometimes do subconsciously. Harvey replied as he took the violin from her hand. But not everyone can master such a skill, and you are very good. Evelyn thought herself ridiculous to believe she could play well, but hearing Harvey's words, she did not doubt it. She blinked and said, "Then I am indeed a genius. With just a little praise, your head sure swelled up." "It didn't," she replied with a goofy grin. "Okay, come and have some breakfast." Harvey put the violin back and walked to the dining room with Evelyn, as she could not help but glance back at the instrument. There was still a familiar feeling, as if she knew something that she just could not recall. Evelyn felt the need to explore these thoughts more, but she instinctively resisted. It was as if something deep inside told her not to delve deeper, and she turned to look at Harvey's back with a sigh. While they were having breakfast, a maid said a few words to Harvey before giving him a large envelope with an invitation. Harvey picked up the invitation card, frowned slightly, opened it, flipped through it, and wanted to throw it away. Evelyn blinked and saw a familiar symbol on it. She said, "Isn't that for the most elite private school in New York?" Then instantly she recalled Harvey had attended this school in his youth. "Is it an invitation for the school reunion?" "Yes. I was here before I went to study in England. Why, did you go to college there?" Harvey asked. Evelyn stuck out her tongue and pouted. "I didn't. The tuition fees there are very high. I don't think I could get good enough grades," she said, though Harvey raised his eyebrows as if he did not believe her. Evelyn puffed her cheeks angrily. "Yes, that's an elite school that I couldn't get into." The topic made her sad because she had longed to attend this school. The most important reason was Timothy went to college there. Of course, she wanted to follow in the footsteps of the people she admired, and that school had a great reputation. But the tuition fees were expensive and the requirements were so strict. So while she did not attend the school, she still often went there to meet up with Timothy. "What's wrong? Do you want to go to the school reunion?" Harvey asked. Evelyn pouted. "I was not a student there. If someone invites you, go." Harvey was a little uninterested. "All these years, someone has only invited me to give speeches based on my position in the city and status as alumni. I'm not interested in returning to that school to reminisce and would probably turn down this invite." Evelyn tilted her head and looked at him. An idea was forming in her mind. When she went to that school, she only thought of it in context to her experiences with Timothy. She could remember how he would wear jeans and a white shirt often when she stopped to visit. What about Harvey? Could it be that he had been on the campus also? Could they have brushed past each other and not known who the other was? She wanted to know the 20-year-old Harvey. She wanted to go back to the past and get to know Harvey in that school. "Let's go. It's not time for the school reunion, but we can take some time to see the dorms you used to stay in. Although I have been there before, I want to know what the high and mighty Harvey's school life was like." Evelyn blinked her eyes and looked at him. Which classroom window he sat at, which tree he reclined under, she wondered. "Do you want to know so much about me?" Harvey smirked. Evelyn curled her lips. "Seeing you are so careless about everything sometimes frustrates me. I want to know more about you. This weekend is the school reunion, so let's avoid this week. I have time next Wednesday." Harvey did not listen to her at all. He set the time on his own. "I will pick you up at 10 in the morning." Evelyn nodded and said, "And don't wear a suit. It's too much. Maybe wear whatever you used to wear in college." Harvey frowned. "In college?" Evelyn was slightly excited as she said, "After all, we are going back to our alma mater. Going back is the main point, so I can see you in a place you appreciated." Evelyn looked at her watch and realized it was time to head to work. Harvey originally planned to go with her, but a call interrupted, and he asked his driver to take her instead. Evelyn was excited about her college date with Harvey. She had been deep in thought as she got in the car, so she did not notice that a sports car passed by and entered Harvey's driveway. Sierra parked the car and walked up to the door, where a servant opened it for her. Sierra walked in and smiled the second she saw Harvey. Harvey looked at her coldly. "What are you doing here?" Sierra pouted. "Seriously? I'm your fiancé. Why can't I come to your house?" Harvey sneered coldly. "What an entitled woman you are. And how dare you call yourself my fiancé before I have officially asked? Can't you find someone else to marry? Do you have to depend on the Cage family?" He did not expect her to come to his house in such a way, and worried that she and Evelyn might have bumped into each other. In his heart, Harvey did not want Evelyn to have any misunderstanding about the situation when she saw Sierra. After all, he definitely wouldn't be able to go through with this engagement. He had only temporarily agreed to get his grandmother to calm down. Sierra seemed unbothered by Harvey's sarcasm, but just sat on the sofa and said, "Harvey, you are mean, but I like it. When I came up the drive, I saw that model leaving. Did she come in the morning, or did she spend the night here?" Harvey looked at her coldly and asked, "What's wrong? Do you believe you have the right to question me about my own home? You are not my fiancé, and absolutely should not do such things." Sierra smiled and blinked. Her eyes seemed to speak. She was not as obedient as when she was in front of the matriarch of the Cage family, such as at the ball. She pressed her body into the sofa and leaned forward, revealing her cleavage. Her voice was seductive as she said, "How could I be so overconfident? I want to know if my fiancé had sex with that woman last night. I wonder how good she is in bed. Harvey, do you want to try it with me? Maybe my body will please you more than hers." "Really?" Harvey smiled. He turned around, lifted her chin and asked in a low, husky voice, "Do you want to do it with me?" Harvey's cold eyes stared at her. Sierra felt like her entire body was on fire. It was this pair of eyes she wanted. This pair of eyes to look at her and have him see her as a woman he desired. She wanted to monopolize his time and get him to think of only her. Sierra's eyes were a little dazed as she moved closer to his lips. She said obsessively, "I want to." Harvey curled his lips and turned to press his fingers against her lips before she could kiss him. "That's why I'm not wrong about you. You are just like those worthless women I've been with and tossed aside after I'm done with them. Your ability to tease men is all you have going for you, and in all other ways, you are far inferior to Evelyn. If I asked Evelyn if she wanted to do it with me, she would scold me and blush. Compared to a woman like you, I will always choose her." Harvey mocked Sierra. He did not know when it started, but the women who tried to climb into his bed without an invitation made him lose interest. No, to be exact, other than Evelyn, he did not seem to have any interest in other women. Sierra's face immediately turned ugly, and she moved back in her seat. Sierra held her hands in shame and anger and knew she could not stay longer. She stood up and said to Harvey, "Even if you say such horrible things, I'm determined to be your wife. I will go back today, but I will return soon." Sierra's last words made Harvey's face turn ugly. After she left, Harvey threw away the newspaper with anger. "Damn it! I will never marry such a woman," Harvey roared. He took out his phone and called Zach. The phone was immediately picked up. "Yes, sir, what can I do for you?" "Zach, go find Norman and tell him I have something to discuss with him tonight," Harvey said calmly. "You want me to go?" Zach panicked. Harvey asked back with no emotion. "If it isn't you, it would have to be me." "I'm sorry, Harvey. I'll go." Zach hung up the phone, but he was panicking inside. Norman was living with Raquel now. Would he be able to come back safely if he went? Zach felt his heart beating super fast, as he had been avoiding Raquel and had not seen her for many days. Raquel hadn't seen him for years when she was abroad, so she tried to forget him. Now, when they suddenly met again and were in the same city, it made her feel a little lonely. Thinking of that beautiful angelic face, Zach pushed his glasses up. Even if this is a trap, it must be the best kind of trap. Zach walked out of his office and called Norman after making some arrangements. After Evelyn returned home, she changed her clothes and prepared to go to work. She went out wearing the bright floral piece she found in the closet, as the outfit made her feel happier and put her in a great mood. Evelyn hesitated before deciding she needed to call Cindy. When Cindy picked up her phone, her voice sounded a little hoarse, as if she was exhausted. "Hello, Evelyn." Evelyn blinked and her heart tightened. Cindy, what's wrong with you? Why is your voice so hoarse? Are you sick? I just have a sore throat. It's okay. What's wrong, Evelyn? Why did you call me? Cindy's voice did not sound good no matter what she said. In fact, she wanted to say that they could have coffee together tomorrow afternoon. She had asked Cindy to tell Timothy not to feel guilty about what happened that day. But Timothy was too kind-hearted. She did not know if he would take it to heart. So she thought it would be better to find Cindy and have a good chat. Hearing her voice, Evelyn quickly said, It's okay. I just wanted to ask you out to the coffee shop. If your throat is not well, you can rest. Take some medicine. Do you want me to bring something for you to eat? No need. I'm with my parents now, and I have soup here. Okay, let's talk another day, Evelyn said. She wanted to hang up the phone. Cindy's voice suddenly sounded like she wanted to say something. Evelyn! Evelyn's voice was gentle and warm. Yes, Cindy, what's wrong? Cindy grabbed the corner of her clothes and hesitated for a moment. In the end, she said nothing. No, it's fine. I will see you in a few days. Cindy hung up the phone and looked out the window. Her eyes were still red. The Green family had all sat down and been told about Timothy's illness and his decision regarding surgery. I've decided to go through with the surgery. Although it is perilous for Dr. Larson, I would like to try the surgery. I don't want to delay it any longer. I will start preparing for the test I will need to go through for the procedure, Timothy said calmly, as if he was talking about the weather and not his very life. This was something that could not be helped. The surgery was perilous, but if he did not go through with it, he would die in the near future. However, it was terrifying, as he knew the risks of dying on the operating table were high. Cindy, what are you thinking about? Timothy came out of the room and saw Cindy looking out of the window. He walked over and gently laid a hand on her shoulder. Cindy turned to look at him, lowered her head and bit her bottom lip. Timothy walked over and pulled her into his arms. Are you sad about me again? Didn't I already tell you I'm fine? Not only do I not feel sad, but I also feel relieved. I've been under a lot of pressure, but now I feel relaxed. Cindy grabbed his clothes and said sadly, Evelyn called me just now. I almost couldn't take it. I heard from the doctors all the risks and knew you were going to do this. You won't tell her, which is crazy to me, considering you have loved her so much, and she would want to know something like this. Don't cry, Timothy said, leaning down and wiping her tears with his hand. His sister was having a hard time reconciling everything, and he loved her more for this. Cindy, I cannot gamble on her future. I gave my love to her because I always knew that she was a woman who loved me so deeply. Cindy, I want to be at peace and not use my miserable sickness to tie up the woman I love. I hope she is happy. So don't cry and say nothing to Evelyn. If I really can't survive the operation, don't hate her for not knowing anything about this. You are my sister and the only person I can entrust with all my secrets. Promise me you will smile and protect her for me always if I leave. Cindy closed her eyes and her tears rolled down. She hugged Timothy and shook her head hard. I don't want to. I don't want to do this. Timothy, don't say things like last words. I don't want to do this. If you leave, I must hate Evelyn. I must hate her. I will scold her and I will not protect her, so don't leave. If you leave, I will hurt the heart of the person you love the most. Timothy smiled gently and stroked her hair. Silly girl. I know you won't do that because Evelyn is very important to you. I'm going to the hospital next week. Let's go home tonight. It's been a long time since our family has all been together. I miss it so much. Cindy felt like a knife was being twisted in her heart. How can you still smile? How can you still smile in the face of death? Would Timothy come out of the operation theater a healthy man? Or was Evelyn about to lose the first love of her life without even getting to meet him for one last time? Episode 83, Walked into a Trap. After working on a few things, Zach circled his shoulders and pushed his glasses up on his nose. He felt that there were too many things to be wary of, and he might not accomplish everything they expected him to do. He would need to do what he could and not worry about the rest. This was a big ask from Harvey, and he would have to understand. The most important thing was that he could not drink or eat anything. Even if Raquel used sweet words to coax him, he needed to stay on guard. Finally, it was time for Zach to go to Norman and Raquel's house. When he was still quite young, Norman could not live alone, and his father tried to take care of him, but the child turned the house upside down with his antics. Soon his father could not take it anymore and sent him to a house to live by himself. Zach drove to the house. He looked at the unique flowers growing on the grass and the strange scarecrows found throughout the lush gardens. The most shocking thing was the painting, as the walls of the house had been done with anime characters. Norman was an anime fan. Norman and Raquel had already seen him from the balcony on the second floor when the car drove in. "Raquel, I never thought that Zach would come to our doorstep," Norman said with a huge grin. Raquel also smiled happily. "You came here, even though you knew how hard you would have to work, and it has been a long time since I have seen my teacher's brilliant martial skills." Norman tilted his head at her. "Actually, sister, you want to see the teacher take off his clothes after sweating hard." Raquel smiled with a knowing grimace. "Seriously, what nonsense are you talking about? You need to go." "I know. Don't worry. This place will be yours and his all week." Norman jumped down from the window and walked out to the stairs on the second floor. After a while, Zach walked in. "Welcome, teacher," Norman said, resting his chin on the railing. "Norman, my boss wants to meet with you. Please come with me," Zach said, standing at the door. He was very alert because he did not know from where the trap would appear. Norman blinked and smiled. "It's fine if you want me to come, but you have to play a game with me. Go to the farthest room on the second floor and meet my sister. It is that easy, and then I will go to see my cousin with you." Zach knew it would be like this and had expected some demand to be made. He took a deep breath and did not try to negotiate. He just took off his suit jacket and put his phone aside. He said calmly, "Show me the way." "Sure," Norman said. He took out a remote control and smiled evilly. "I won't show you any mercy." Zach had never thought that he would be showing mercy. He strode forward, and the floor suddenly turned into a cube. They rigged the house for games and training in martial arts skills of various degrees of difficulty. His eyes quickly darted to the cubes that appeared out of the floor. 3 steps later, 4 cubes suddenly disappeared from under his feet, and Zach fell, stopping only when he grabbed another cube for support. "A beautiful side flip, as expected of such an excellent teacher." Norman smiled calmly and continued to operate the trap. Zach had to avoid the gaps under his feet and prevent the needles from flying towards him. He also had to duck to avoid the sticky paint bomb that fell from the ceiling. He was very busy trying to make it to safety as Raquel hid in a corner and watched it unfold. She couldn't help but become even more enamored with the man. With his skills, these traps were nothing to fear. Norman was not naive enough to think that he could stop Zach with these little games. Zach had seen a rain of real bullets before. How could he be afraid of these small game-like traps? There was only one goal, which was to consume his physical strength. When Zach attacked Norman, he stuck out his tongue. "Oh my, so fast." As he spoke, Zach stepped forward and slapped away the control handle in Norman's hand. Norman kicked back Zach and took 3 steps back. "I don't want to fight with the teacher. My sister is in the room. You are free to go in." Zach panted and calmed himself down a bit. He winked at Norman and said, "Norman, I am sorry, but better luck next time." After Zach finished speaking, he opened the door. Sure enough, Raquel was inside and sitting on the bed. Raquel looked at him with surprise when she saw him. "You have to touch my skin directly. It doesn't count if you touch my clothes." Zach was stunned. Raquel was wearing a long dress that was draped from head to toe. She even wore gloves. So how was he to touch her skin? Her face? Only her face was left. Zach felt his heart skip a beat, and his face was burning. "Raquel, please don't make things difficult for me. Let's stop here," Zach said awkwardly, swallowing hard. Raquel pouted unhappily. "I will make things difficult for you. Come and touch me quickly. Otherwise, I will let Norman do his worst to you and not meet Harvey as he has requested." Veins were popping out of Zach's forehead. He was still facing the attack head-on as usual. If it was a cheek, a gentle touch would be fine. It was nothing. Zach closed his eyes to inhale heavily and said, "Well then, I am sorry." Zach walked towards Raquel. When he got close to Raquel, Raquel suddenly kicked Zach 2 steps back and smiled. "I didn't say that you could touch me so easily. Teacher, have you regressed in your skills?" Zach smiled bitterly. He was surprised. He didn't expect Raquel to suddenly attack him. "If that's the case, I will not hold back," Zach replied, grabbing Raquel's arm. He did not want to hurt her and could not fight with her. He could only hold her down and touch her to show who was in charge. Well, just a touch of the nose would be enough. Zach did not plan to grab Raquel, but unexpectedly reached out to take hold of her. Zach was motionless for 3 seconds when he realized what he had done, and in these moments Raquel suddenly retreated, leaving her clothes in Zach's hands. "Pervert!" Zach looked at the dress in his hand in shock. He looked up and saw Raquel screaming as she ran to the closet in her sexy underwear. Zach blushed and quickly covered his eyes with his hand. "I'm sorry, Raquel. I didn't do it on purpose." "You lose." Zach heard 2 sounds at the same time. He felt a sweep kick on his leg and fell backward onto the soft sofa cushion. He wanted to get up, but he suddenly had a person on top of him. The soft chest pressed down on him. Zach was going crazy. "Raquel, what are you doing? You're only wearing underwear now." "Raquel, please get. I'm going to lose my mind." Someone forcefully grabbed his chin. Her soft cherry lips moved closer to Zach's mouth as he felt his own go dry. This soft touch, this fragrant smell was all uniquely Raquel. Zach swallowed the drugs as the woman tapped his throat with her finger. The action forced the liquid down his throat, but Raquel did not let him go. She hooked his tongue with her own and entangled it, causing him to be hot and needy in no time. Norman was speechless. "If you want to kiss, then kiss later. I don't want to see the 2 of you like this up close." Raquel finally let go of Zach, but her look told him she didn't want to. Zach's whole body went limp. The effect of whatever she gave him was very strong. At this moment, he was completely out of strength. He collapsed onto the soft cushion on the sofa and wheezed. His face was flushed. Raquel rode on top of him and saw that his always handsome face was flushed and his heartbeat quickened. She was so cute. Her face was usually cold and gave off the smell of sweet lilacs. Narrowing her eyes and smiling, Raquel leaned over to look at Zach. "Zach, you won't be able to escape me now." Zach's heart still felt like it would explode, but his gaze landed on her chest. No, he could not have improper thoughts about Raquel. Zach tilted his head and tried to calm himself down. "Raquel, please put on your clothes." That's right. Hurry and put on your clothes. Don't wander around like this." Norman had already gotten up and threw the clothes to her. After Raquel put them on, she returned to her subdued appearance of a rich young lady. Raquel asked a servant to carry Zach to the bed. She put on handcuffs and chains and confiscated all the things he had brought with him, including knives and sticks. She finally let out a sigh of relief. This will be perfect. Norman crossed his arms over his chest and said, "It can't be that everything is safe, as the teacher's face is hideous." Raquel rolled her eyes at him and shooed him away. "You should leave now. It's time for my teacher and me to be alone. Go find my cousin, as he probably needs your help. Please tell him that Zach won't be back for the next few days." Norman glanced at Zach and warned her, "Don't go overboard." "I'm leaving." Norman turned around and left. Only Zach and Raquel stayed in the room. Raquel took off his glasses and caressed his face. She smiled and said, "Teacher, now we are the only ones left. We have to enjoy the rest of our time together." "Raquel, please let me go. I won't do anything with you, as I want to enjoy the rest of my life," Zach said stubbornly. Raquel's fingers slid across his lips and she smiled evilly. "So, I will do whatever I want instead." Before Zach could fight back, Raquel had already bent over and kissed him. The powerless Zach could not resist in the least. Her lips were as soft as flower petals, and it was stealing his breath with each nibble of his lips she took. After a long kiss, Raquel leaned against his chest. Her voice was as soft as a blooming rose as she softly whispered, Teacher, your heart is beating so fast. Zach pursed his lips and closed his eyes. His mind went back to that year when he was to teach the curious Norman how to fight and teach Raquel some defensive skills. He heard that recently Raquel had encountered a threat from her admirers in school. He taught her self-defense. Raquel did not speak and looked terrified of men when he came in to teach her. The 14-year-old, slender and elegant Raquel only had fear in her eyes, so he was a little gentle on her at first. However, he did not talk to her often and did not smile at her. He only sat beside her when she was silent and handed her a candy. He did not know how to coax a 14-year-old girl out of her shell, so he changed his style and gave her sweet candies. Then one day, because he was busy, he did not bring any candies. So she spoke to him and asked, "Why are there no candies today?" It was the first time she had spoken to him. He immediately stood up and said in a somewhat flustered and helpless manner, "I'll go buy them now. Wait for me." Raquel smiled and said, "Teacher, you are a strange person." A few months later, he was able to get Raquel out of her shell. Raquel got close to him, and he liked her a lot when she was smiling at him. He hoped she would always smile like that, as she looked exquisite with that sincere look on her face. Then, one afternoon during a fight with Raquel, Raquel threw him down for the first time. He felt happy, so he laid on the ground, laughed, and then the beautiful girl leaned over him and kissed him on the lips. "Teacher, I like you. I want to be the teacher's bride." He could remember his heart beating faster than it was now, but what followed was surging guilt and sorrow at what he had done. He learnt the vast differences in their worlds, and they could never be more than teacher and student. "Raquel, it is impossible between us, so please don't do this anymore," Zach said, opening his eyes. Raquel leaned against his chest and smiled. "Zach, you have said this to me countless times. You have said something even more resolute than this in the past. But it doesn't matter. You are Zach. Even if you push me away, I will still keep you with me by force. I like you, and I still want to be the teacher's bride. Since the first time you've shown that look of panic, I've been the only woman in the world who can shake your calm facade. I will keep taking everything from you until you make me yours." Meanwhile, Norman was about to meet with Harvey and was standing just outside his office window, being a tad creepy, as was normal for him. "Oh, my dear cousin, I heard you wanted to see me, so I flew over. How about it? I'll give it my all." Outside Harvey's office, Norman stuck his tongue out at the man. Harvey held his phone in one hand and coffee in the other. He said expressionlessly, "It's great to see you. Can I invite you inside via the front door?" Harvey was speechless regarding his cousin. This was the top floor, and he was actually outside the window. Would it satisfy him if he fell and ended up a top news story because of his reckless actions? A few minutes later, Norman finally sat down in Harvey's office. "Where's Zach?" Harvey asked as the secretary poured him some coffee. "We exchanged hostages?" Norman blinked and pretended to be naive. "Since I am here, someone will naturally detain Zach. Cousin, you sent Zach because you knew this would happen. I thought it would turn out like this, but I didn't think Raquel would take him down so easily," Harvey replied, raising his eyebrows. "Well, plan to rescue him, as I don't think he will be released until a week later. Tell me, cousin, why were you looking for me?" Norman asked, stuffing a macaroon into his mouth. Harvey nodded. "Yes, I have some matters to attend to. I hope you can quickly ruin my engagement party. I think you can do it with no one realizing." Norman guessed that when Grandma Cage showed up with that woman, his cousin was in trouble. His cousin had never wanted to get married, so he thought he would probably ruin the engagement party himself. Norman blinked his beautiful blue eyes as he ate the cake. "I guessed it was about this. But it's not that easy. That woman and others around her are determined to get her married to you. They seem to have even prepared a helicopter. It might even be an airborne engagement ceremony." "Then blow up the helicopter," Harvey bit out coldly. "That woman means nothing to me. I need you to mess up the engagement. You owe me this. You should help me with this, as even your sister will want you to help me." Norman already knew that he had to do something, so there was no need to threaten him. Did Norman already have a plan in his mind? If he stood true to his reputation, he would do something exceedingly outrageous and dramatic. How would Norman ruin an airborne engagement ceremony? Episode 84, Mark Pays a Visit. Norman said confidently to Harvey, "Okay, leave it to me. But my security guys keep my dad alert of my activities, so we shouldn't use them." Norman was excited. He liked Harvey's guards. "Up to you," Harvey nodded generously. Oh, he will resist this power play no matter the cost. The damned old woman wanted to marry me off and produce an heir for her to influence. Then I would be left with nothing and she would control all the family funds and the company. Norman stood up and said, "All right, I got it. I'll make the arrangements. I'm leaving now, but I can't go home for the next few days. I'm going to stay at a friend's place for a few days. Oh, right. My men also looked at the picture you gave me, and they claimed that there was no man on the boat that looked like him that night." Harvey nodded and said, "Yes, Quinn contacted me today. I just found out a bit about him as well." Norman asked curiously, "I'm really curious that you would investigate a man who seems to be a college student." "Yes, I'm just as curious about something else that I'm following up on. You are free to go now, but you know that we cages can't mix with Quinn's illegal business. While gambling is not bad, getting involved in other illegal concerns is not something our family will tolerate." "Okay," Harvey warned his young cousin. Norman teased him. "Okay, I know. You sound like my dad and of that generation. Don't forget that this is a changing world, and sometimes the new generation changes rules you wish we would follow." Norman left as soon as he finished speaking. Harvey leaned against his desk and curled his lips. Young people wear him out. Maybe he was getting too old. They had already displayed their extraordinary abilities, whether it was Quinn or Norman. Compared to them, he wasn't considered young anymore. In some time, this New York would be their world. Harvey couldn't help but think of the man he encountered on the Jack of Hearts that night. What a coincidence, Mark and that man on the boat, Harvey murmured. There was indeed no one on Jack of Hearts who had Mark's face, but there was one person, the only one, wearing a mask from the Hamilton Group. Harvey didn't want to believe that Mark was the Hamilton Group's leader. Evelyn wouldn't be safe if she were caught between Harvey and such a man. Although the man was young, he had done many things. His organization had a wide range of operations in New York. They had killed a lot of vicious criminals. Although it seemed like they were trying to uphold justice, they would drag Evelyn into this. She was not strong enough to fight if they were to implicate her as a co-conspirator without self-defense skills. He didn't want to believe it, but there were too many coincidences and too many suspicious things making the picture clearer every day. Harvey put his hands in his pockets, still worried. Sure enough, he had to check again. But Zach is not here. As he was about to call for help, when Harvey remembered Zach had to be surrendered to Raquel. At that moment, Harvey did not expect Sierra, who had left his house in the morning, to go to his grandmother's mansion. The moment she saw the old lady, Sierra cried tearfully. "Grandma, I can't win Harvey's heart, as he loves the model from the ball that day. That woman was at Harvey's house last night and only left when I went there." Sierra looked sad. The older lady frowned. "He hasn't broken off relations with that woman yet?" Sierra felt wronged and said, "Not only that, we have been very close before, but Harvey did not bother with me this time, and even told me that woman is better than me." Mrs. Cage looked at her teary face and frowned even more. "It's just a woman. You are the woman who rightfully deserves to be his wife. You cannot cry like this for a mistress with no status. How will you be Mrs. Cage in the future if you get this emotional over something so insignificant?" The older woman spat out, her voice showing her displeasure. Sierra trembled in shock and immediately calmed down. Harvey's words had blindsided her, but this woman had taken her down a peg. If she angered Mrs. Cage, she could not take the position of Harvey's wife. Thinking of this, Sierra hurriedly wiped away her tears, lowered her head, and docilely added, "I'm sorry, Grandma. I lost myself and he made me jealous. Harvey said things that hurt my heart." The older lady twisted her lips to slightly soften her tone. "Less than a month left. As long as the engagement is successful, you will be in a position to send the woman away after your marriage. There is no need to make trouble for him to make him unhappy. It is not worth it to make a move now and let him find a reason not to marry you." Sierra nodded. "Yes, Grandma." Sierra also comforted herself as she saw the truth. There could be other women in the future, but once she married Harvey and produced an heir for the family, no one could doubt her role again. Thinking about this, she could bear Evelyn's presence a little longer. Sierra said a few more words to Dolores before leaving. After she left, the elderly lady called the butler and said in a deep voice, "Harvey seems to be very persistent with that model. Not that I am afraid that woman will rob Sierra of anything. I believe she cannot do so, as that wild girl looks uneducated. But the Cage family will lose all face if she causes trouble at the engagement party. You wait until a few days before the engagement to find her and send her away with money or threaten her. In short, make sure that she does not cause trouble at the engagement." "Yes, madam." The butler bowed. The woman nodded as everything was under control, and she was very confident in her methods. The Cage family had always been like this. They used the younger generation to continue their control of that generation. When Harvey had a child, she would exert her control on the child and force Harvey to contribute to the Cages more than he did now. Ever since her husband died, she was the one who had been supporting the entire family. She couldn't let anything happen she didn't agree with. At this moment, Evelyn was completely in the dark about all that was happening around her. She did not know that Harvey was getting engaged, did not know that his grandmother was going to send her away, did not know that Luke knew about her past, did not know that Mark was hiding everything. There were already countless people who were trying to dig up the truth. She did not know that Timothy's illness had reached the point where he had to undergo surgery. The undercurrents surged in this city, but still the sun illuminated everything in sight. The warm sunlight shone through the lush green leaves and branches onto the ground. Water columns were spurting out of the fountains as the cicadas made noise. Small rainbows hung in the fountains. Summer was a beautiful season that Evelyn loved. There were so many secrets surrounding her, but she was still unaware and happy. She was preparing for the designer competition while looking forward to her date next Wednesday. "Evelyn, you're in a good mood," Nancy said in the evening, looking at Evelyn full of energy. Evelyn revealed her beautiful smile and said, "I feel good." She was in a great mood. After all, she had a date with Harvey on Wednesday. The enthusiasm lasted until it was time to get off work. Outside of her restaurant, Mark suddenly came to pick her up. Evelyn didn't know Mark was there at first. However, after the colleague who delivered the to-go orders went downstairs to a car, she ran up excitedly and said, "I saw a super handsome guy. He is simply a model. I don't know who he is waiting for in front of our restaurant." The group of people gathered around to ask about the man. Evelyn blinked and continued cleaning food off her hands. She already had a handsome man, so she was not excited, until the colleague described the man in more detail. "He has a pair of mysterious brown eyes, a nose that is very straight, and thin lips that are slightly red. He is not somewhere still young, with an air of maturity. There's an air of mystery all around him, sort of like a little devil." Evelyn's mop fell to the ground. Mark was the only man she had ever met who people described as a little devil. He was indeed a petty demon. He could charm 1 second and be demanding and mean in the next. Blinking her eyes, Evelyn looked. While everyone was discussing the newcomer, Evelyn had already gone downstairs. A colleague clicked his tongue and sighed. "Though Evelyn is still with Mr. Cage, she couldn't help it when she heard he was handsome." Evelyn went down and saw a familiar figure. "Mark!" Mark heard her voice and turned around. He immediately spread his arms when he saw her running over and smiled brightly. "Hey, I'm here to pick you up." Evelyn stopped in front of his embrace and took a step back. She sized him up. "Why do you suddenly want to take me home?" Mark saw she didn't want to throw herself into his embrace, so he stepped forward and hugged her. "The road at night is very dangerous. I was worried about you, so I came to pick you up," Mark replied while rubbing his hand against her hair. His actions made Evelyn's heart soften. She originally wanted to blame him for running out late at night, but she could not say those words after being teased like this. She sighed helplessly and said, "I am not a child, so you don't need to chastise me. Speaking of which, my colleagues saw you and became infatuated with you. Do you want to avoid it, or are you coming to meet everyone?" "I'm going up," Mark said. He let go of her and said, "I want to thank your colleagues for taking care of you. As a family member, I should go up and thank them." "No need. Evelyn wanted to refuse, but Mark already took her hand and walked to the elevator. Evelyn shouted in her heart, "No! What's happening? With 1 minute you act like my child that needs protection, and the next moment you are a parent who is in charge?" Just as she was trying to figure him out, Mark was already walking out of the elevator with Evelyn's hand in his. There was no one other than her colleagues in the restaurant. While these people were discussing this handsome guy, the man dropped from the sky and shocked the gossipers. "What are you doing here?" the server who had first seen Mark said incoherently. Mark looked around and smiled brightly. "I am Evelyn's brother. Thank you for taking care of my sister." "Brother?" Nancy screamed. This was a gene mutation? Not that she didn't think Evelyn wasn't pretty. The advertisement she modeled in was still hung up in the city. Of course she was a beauty. It was just that Mark didn't look like her at all. They were two completely different skin tones and body types. Evelyn was pale, slight of form, and delicate, and had nothing like the dark-skinned devil claiming to be her brother. Evelyn sighed when she saw the puzzled looks in her colleagues' eyes. She knew what surprised them. "Yeah, my brother and I don't look alike at all. My parents passed all the good genes to my brother," Evelyn explained. Mark smiled and bowed politely. "Although my sister says so, she is still the cutest in my eyes. I hope all of you can get along well with my sister in the future." When a handsome man came here making such requests, of course they all wanted to please him with compliance. They all came up to him and asked him where he went to school, how old he was, if he had a girlfriend, or other such things. They surrounded Mark, and as he answered, he said, "My sister is trusting of people. I hope all of you can help me take care of my sister, and don't let her get entangled with the wrong people." "Have strange people always pestered Evelyn? No wonder she met that Rose customer some time ago," a colleague suddenly said without knowing what was happening. Evelyn's fine hairs stood on end when she heard this. Oh, this wasn't good. She didn't take that matter to heart, so she hadn't told Mark. She knew that if she had something like this hidden from Mark, he would be angry. This group of women spoke without restraint. Would she live through Mark's reaction if they told him about Harvey? Evelyn grabbed Mark and put him behind her. She said awkwardly, "Everyone, my brother is here today. I will leave with him. See you all later." "Ah, okay. Go ahead." Everyone was very tolerant of her younger brother. Evelyn had already changed her clothes, so she pulled Mark behind her and left. A strong wind messed up Evelyn's hair when they exited. When she looked up, she could not see the stars, and it looked like it would rain tonight. Evelyn blinked her eyes and her heart moved. Could it be that Mark came to pick her up because he knew it might rain tonight? He is the one who cares about her the most in the world. "What's the matter with the Rose guest?" Mark asked in a worried tone of voice. Evelyn smiled bitterly. "This is just my younger brother worried too much about me." "It's nothing much. It's just that a strange guest sent me roses to confess to me and told me I was his rose. Because it was strange, of course, I immediately rejected him. Because I already took care of it, I didn't tell you," Evelyn said. Evelyn wanted to take off her coat, but Mark held her down with his big hand. "Don't put it on me. You can wear it yourself. You will catch a cold. Tell me about this kind of thing in the future. Tell me, and I will take care of such things for you," Mark demanded. "It's because he never showed up again I didn't tell you. I will let you know if I see him again." Evelyn smiled, feeling a little guilty. If she wanted to know why that guest did not appear again, it was probably because of Harvey. She wanted to tell her brother not to worry about her, and that she had someone to protect her. It was just that Harvey's identity and her relationship with him made Evelyn unable to open her mouth. One lie after another, she kept hiding Harvey's story from her brother. Maybe one day she and Harvey would end up together without needing to reveal everything to Mark. Was that just wishful thinking? It took Mark barely any effort to find out about Luke, enter his house, and threaten him. How long before Mark saw through Evelyn's lies and found out about Harvey? Harvey had also started to suspect that Mark was the leader of the Hamilton group. What would the confrontations between two persons obsessed with Evelyn be like? Episode 85, Plans to Watch Baseball. After leaving the restaurant, Mark and Evelyn were walking towards home. As they were about to cross the road, Mark said, "Give me your hand." Evelyn glared at him. "I'm not a child. You don't need to hold my hand across the road." Did he think she was a child, that he was holding her hands while crossing the street? "But I want to hold your hands. It can be like you once did when you held my hand across, when I was younger." Mark smiled at her with his beautiful crescent-shaped eyes. Evelyn sighed and stretched out her hand. She ground her teeth and said, "Stop acting like a spoiled kid." "But I want to act like a spoiled child with you. Other than you, with whom else can I act like this?" "All right, I'll hold your hand." Mark took her hand and walked towards the subway. He felt at ease when he clasped her hand. After he returned from Luke's place, he could not calm down. Instead, he felt even more uneasy. He didn't know why, but he had an anxious feeling that she might remember everything without his knowledge. Following this feeling, he had to scope things out. "Tomorrow is the weekend. You work early. After work, let's go watch a baseball game. I haven't been to one for a long time. My friend just gave me a pair of tickets." "Huh? Really? It has been a long time since we went to a game together," Evelyn said excitedly. "Okay, let's go this weekend then." Mark smiled gently. The warmth of her palm was comforting. "Please, keep holding my hand in the future." "By the way, Mark, I have something to ask you," Evelyn said, shaking Mark's hand. "Have I ever played the violin before? Or do I like to watch it being played?" Mark's heart suddenly tightened. He stopped in his tracks and pulled her back. He suppressed the trembling in his hands and looked at her with huge eyes. "Why are you suddenly asking this kind of question?" Evelyn looked back and saw that the night wind was blowing his hair. Evelyn smiled innocently. "It's nothing. It's just that when I listened to the music one day, I suddenly played the violin and realized that I know how to play the violin. I think it's so magical, but I can't remember how I would know that." A strong sense of unease welled up, almost uncontrollable. Mark walked to her side and pulled her into his arms. Evelyn opened her eyes wide and blinked in confusion. "Mark?" Suddenly, she didn't know what was going on. Why did Mark suddenly hug her? It was so strange. Evelyn was so confused. "Mark, what happened to you?" Evelyn frowned. Mark held her in his arms, and it hurt a little. The night wind was blowing, and the chill was threatening. But in Mark's arms, she did not feel any wind or rain. Mark hugged her tightly. He only came back to his senses after she called him a few times. He realized he had lost his composure. Mark quickly pulled himself together and explained, "I'm worried about you. This is probably the side effect of hypnosis." Evelyn tilted her head. "Side effects?" Mark nodded. "That's right. Since the beginning, you have been under hypnosis, so your subconscious might be confused. You will categorize some memories that did not belong to you as your own. You think that what you see is your own. This is like a dream. Sometimes your dreams are too realistic, and you will think it happened." "Oh, I see. No wonder. I was wondering why I suddenly knew how to play the violin. There's nothing bad about this side effect." Evelyn laughed innocently. "So the house she dreamed of caused the after effects." That's right. She felt like she didn't know that house at all, nor did she know that kind of flower in the garden, that man, and the sound of the violin floating in the air. She didn't know any of it. Evelyn didn't doubt Mark's words at all. Mark looked at her and felt very uncomfortable. He reached out his hand to hold hers and whispered, "I don't want you to be hurt. In the future, don't pay attention to these strange fragments. I'm afraid you will fall into chaotic memories that will make it hard for you to know reality from fiction and dreams. Don't think about those fragments. Please don't explore and remember those painful, sad memories. Please don't think about them now. Evelyn held his hand back and said gently and firmly, I am grateful to be me, as I might not have a brother like you if I had another identity. I don't know what kind of lonely life that would be. Mark's hands trembled. He gazed softly at Evelyn and asked, Without me, do you think you would be lonely? Evelyn smiled gently and looked up at him. Yes. If you weren't by my side, I wouldn't know what to do and would always be very lonely. She didn't even dare to imagine what kind of life she would have to live without Mark by her side after her parents left. Mark leaned over her and held Evelyn in his arms. He closed his eyes and said with a trembling voice, Evelyn, you are so powerful. You can save me every time. Every time I walk in the dark abyss and am about to be devoured by the darkness, you always reach out and clutch me. You walk in the light, I walk in the dark, but when we are together, I can bask in your light. The happiest thing I've ever had is you, so whatever I have is yours, as I want you to be happy. I want to clasp your hand always. Mark, we are really afraid of loneliness. Evelyn saw he was hugging her again, so she raised her hand to rub his hair. Her younger brother loved to act playful. He was still young and afraid of loneliness. He was sensible and outstanding and could support the family. Evelyn, I like you. I love you the most, Mark said, burying his head on her shoulder. Okay, I got it. Evelyn smiled helplessly. Let's go. Let's go home. Yes, Mark replied obediently. Evelyn held his hand as they walked. She was at the front while Mark was at the back. The street lamps in the night formed a sea of light that illuminated everything, making it look like a painting. Mark looked at her back. Her long hair was flowing down her back in waves. Dear sister, I like you. It's different from what you think. I like you as a man likes a woman. One day, I'll tell you personally how I have loved you for so many years. Answer me then, and smile gently at me. The two of them walked back. Not far away, a car was parked on the side of the road, taking in everything. When they were far away, the person in the car got out of the car and lit a cigarette, leaning against the car. Thomas walked over and stood beside him. Are you heartbroken? Luke smiled. It doesn't count. I don't have those feelings for her. Don't forget that when I met her, she was still a little girl. Thomas raised his brows. I don't understand. What's the point of you coming here to watch this scene? Are you torturing yourself? Luke's mouth twitched. His assistant was very annoying. I didn't expect this at first. Okay, please don't misunderstand me. I just wanted to see her. I just couldn't explain it clearly. When I thought about how she was tortured by the grief after losing so much, I wanted to be sure she had someone that would save her. I just wanted to see her alive, healthy, and smiling. Luke took a drag on his cigarette and exhaled. Thomas said, That young man's obsession with her is deep. This obsession made him do many things for her that allowed her to survive. There's probably no space between them that an outsider can step in. Luke raised his brows and looked at him. Are you warning me not to overextend myself and interfere? I'm telling you not to worry about unnecessary things that affect your work, Thomas said. Luke smiled and shrugged. At least I don't have that plan for the time being. Now is the time to focus on work. It's whether there is a path forward for those two that remains a mystery. At least until now, because of the tampering of memories, Mark was just a little brother to Evelyn, and she only played the role of an elder sister. When Mark would unravel this secret, would this brother-sister relationship turn into love as he wished? Evelyn was probably the only one who could answer that for certain. Mark still hid many things, such as how he could change Evelyn's past and forge a perfect identity. Luke did not intend to investigate anymore, but he vaguely felt that eventually all secrets would become known. One day, Evelyn would know everything. No one knew which way things would turn out. Evelyn felt that there was always a wild heart hidden under her quiet appearance. The last time she went to the amusement park, she had already confirmed it, but she liked to watch baseball as well. Evelyn wanted to ask Mark to play baseball a few years ago, but he was too good-looking and tall. Evelyn felt that if her brother wanted to play baseball, he would probably be at a disadvantage. Why? Because baseball was still a sport requiring some strength. Eventually, he had turned to play basketball, which was a little less physical. It turned out that her brother liked basketball more, but both of them liked to watch baseball. It was not even 3 o'clock in the afternoon the following day when Evelyn and her colleagues bid each other goodbye. Nancy looked at her and smiled. I saw your brother waiting for you downstairs. What's wrong? Are you going on a date with your brother? Evelyn pushed her. What are you talking about? That's my brother. It just so happens that there's a baseball game. Most girls don't like to watch, so I'm going. She raised her eyebrows and said, but I am attending with him. So let's go in together. Nancy clicked her tongue and sighed. Evelyn, to be honest, I envy you. You are living in a world where beautiful men surround you. Harvey, your little brother, every day is rosy-colored for you. Ugh, don't mention roses to me, Evelyn said. I just thought of something else. See you tomorrow. She turned around and left. Another colleague walked to Nancy and said, I'm so envious of Evelyn. If I had such a handsome brother, I could try my luck. Your moral integrity has fallen to disgusting levels, Nancy replied. But Mark's charm was too great for most women to ignore. With all the women chasing the big, handsome guy by her side, she was certain to become a sister-in-law in the future. Evelyn hadn't seen Harvey for the past 2 days, but she didn't feel lonely because of the agreement to see each other on Wednesday. That person was the CEO of a large company, so he should be busy. They went downstairs and put on their sun hats. At that moment, Harvey was indeed a little busy, but it wasn't about the company. It was about a certain young lady. Raquel, for how many days will you keep Zach locked up? Harvey called his cousin with a dark face. You really can't leave Zach alone. You've already started missing him in just a few days. Have you forgotten that next Monday is my birthday? I can only return him on Tuesday, Raquel said calmly. Harvey glanced at Norman lying on the sofa and said, Don't do too much to Zach, okay? Especially do not talk to your father, or it won't be good. I know. I did nothing to Zach. At least for now. Even if I did, it would be better for Zach to take advantage of me. Raquel hung up the phone and walked back to the room. She still held Zach with ropes on his hands and feet. Other than the bed, he stayed in an empty room. He could swing, but his body still had little strength. Raquel had reduced the dosage, but not enough for him to escape. Zach heard Raquel walk in, but did not look back. He kept looking out the window. Raquel walked behind him and hugged him. She softly muttered, What is it? Are you still angry about what happened last night? Zach said coldly. Raquel, please just let me go. Raquel said coyly. It's not like I did it in the end. I was just helping you vent. Zach, you look like you're abstinent. I'm sure you haven't had a woman for a long time, so I couldn't help but help you. Zach thought about what had happened last night. His face was turning shades of red from embarrassment and remembering the spicy scene. He did not know what Raquel had learned overseas all these years. Not only did she help him, she had also used her mouth. As for him, he was powerless and could only be manipulated by her. He could not describe this kind of feeling with words. The turmoil and struggle in his heart almost devoured him. After being locked on the bed, he did not know if it was because of the medicine, but he always dreamed of Raquel when she was 14 and Raquel when she was 16. He dreamed of this transformation from pure and intelligent and sweet to eccentric to a little devil. It was he who had changed Raquel. He knew it in his heart, so he could not wash away the guilt, no matter what. Raquel, please let go of me, Zach said. I hate it when things are like this, and you can have any man. Raquel's father should have arranged blind dates recently, as she was of marrying age. It was how this was done in the family. It's your birthday next Monday. There should be a lot of elite men from the upper class attending. I think you will find your future husband there. Raquel froze and slowly let him go. Yes, next Monday would be her birthday. After this birthday, she will be 22 years old. The Cage family was very smart, and she was no exception. She had already finished her studies early, so it was fine for her to get married now. She had worked really hard to come back here to Zach. Zach, I will not agree to any man my father arranges for me. It is my 22nd birthday. I do not want to see those men. I have already given myself to you. Raquel pulled Zach's sleeve and tiptoed to his ear. She whispered, Zach, I belong to you. My body and heart will be complete only when you claim me." Zach's expression changed drastically. He shook her off and took a few steps back. Zach didn't want Raquel to know about his feelings, because her family would never accept him owing to his low-class status. For how long would Zach be able to hold back his feelings for her? Would Zach break Raquel's heart on her birthday and try to escape? Or would he ask for Harvey's help to win over Raquel's family and risk getting in trouble with Dolores? Episode 86, An Incident at Baseball Game. Zach staggered back, hearing Raquel's confessions, and said sternly, "Raquel, I will not do this with you. How can you say something like this? Please, don't talk nonsense." Raquel looked at Zach anxiously. Her beautiful, pale blue eyes gazed at Zach with deep affection. "I am not talking nonsense. I know what I want. I like you and want to be with you. What's wrong with that?" "But I don't want it," Zach said, raising his voice. "I won't do it with you, Raquel. Absolutely not." Raquel's body trembled and her heart ached. "Why do you say it so bluntly, Zach? Don't you like me? Don't you want me, even though I have already declared my feelings for you?" "Is that so?" "This matter is not up to you to decide. You are locked up here. I must get what I want. I must get it at all costs. Zach, don't even think about escaping." Raquel walked out of the room with her head held high. She arrogantly threw down the challenge and left. Zach slowly leaned against the wall and slid down onto the floor. He grabbed his hair. He knew this young lady well. She was showing off her stubborn side in front of him now, but she must have hidden and cried secretly behind his back. The young lady's heart was fragile. She was sincere and delicate. She could not bear to hurt him, but he had said things that wounded her. Raquel made no more mistakes. "It's just an illusion that you liked me when you were a girl. You think you like me, but you will meet someone more suited to you later. Now you are just lost." "Cousin, do you think my sister and Zach will be fine?" Norman asked while eating ice cream on the couch in Harvey's villa. Harvey raised his eyebrows with no interest. "How would I know? Your sister is stubborn and so is Zach. Either Zach has figured a way out, or your sister is bending him to her will. I predict the two of them together." Norman shrugged and pressed the program on the sports channel. He stuck out his tongue and said, "Zach, you better listen to my sister, otherwise my sister will go crazy." Harvey frowned. Raquel had already become paranoid, but could Zach break through her defenses? It was hard to say. Being born into a family like the Cage family, one is destined to suffer the torments inflicted by the older generation. They are only worried about business, political aspirations, and the right marriages to ensure the family's future, not about anyone's feelings. It just so happened that Raquel's father cared about the family, and that damned old woman cared even more about it. He only hoped that Zach would grow a little more relaxed. Either he was undecided or didn't want Raquel to put everything on the line and suffer at the hands of her family. "Speaking of which, why do you look like you're at home watching TV here?" Harvey asked Norman, his eyes flashing. Norman rolled his eyes. "It's Quinn. He was negotiating a firearms deal. Didn't you say we shouldn't get involved in such stuff? So I came back. It's rare for you to be so obedient," Harvey praised. Norman leaned back on the sofa and said, "I'm bored and the weather is so hot. I decided to watch a baseball game and sleep here." Harvey did not have any objections. It would be better to watch over him. Baseball games were quite interesting. He could not go to Evelyn if Norman were here, so he might as well enjoy the afternoon. "Is this today's game?" Harvey asked Norman. Norman nodded. "Yes, I wanted to go to the game, but it was too hot. I was afraid I would faint, so I didn't go." Harvey nodded. He vaguely remembered that Evelyn seemed to like baseball. Harvey wondered if he would be at the game with her now, if he liked baseball. Just as Harvey was thinking this, Evelyn was at the game. The best spot and the best view. Evelyn sat down and said excitedly, "Mark, you can see clearly from here." Mark sat next to her and nodded with a smile. "Yes, it's a good view." Mark put the popcorn and Coke away from her, but Evelyn didn't care. She just screamed along with the surrounding voices. Mark looked at her excited, radiant face, which put him in a good mood. Sure enough, there was nothing more meaningful than being with her. The cell phone in his pocket rang. Mark opened it and looked. It was a text message from Ray. "I saw you and your sister. I also bought tickets for this game, but it's far from you. Don't worry." Mark's face darkened for a moment. Ugh, this annoying guy. He was like a stalker. Without thinking, Mark replied with the word stalker and ignored him. Ray received the text message and felt wronged. He frowned. "I like baseball too." Screw him. The game had been very intense since the beginning. Evelyn felt excited watching and kept screaming. When it was finally time to take a break, Evelyn let out a long sigh. Mark took the small napkin and handed it to her. He smiled and said, "You're sweating a lot. Wipe it." At this moment, the host's voice sounded, "Kiss!" They had this segment during the breaks in the play. The camera tracks the audience seats and the screen shows which couples will be on the kiss camera, suspended in the middle of the stadium. It was a very interesting session. Evelyn was excitedly waiting to see the couple when her and Mark's faces suddenly appeared on the big screen. Kiss! 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 Evelyn was at a loss for what to do, and her face turned red. "No, we're not a couple. He's my brother." Evelyn's voice was not loud enough to be heard. No one listened to her explanation. Evelyn looked at the big screen, and it waited for her and Mark to kiss. Evelyn almost fainted. What kind of mistake was this? Mark, standing at the side, looked at the camera and suddenly turned to Evelyn and said, "Looks like we can't hide anymore." Evelyn opened her eyes wide and was tongue-tied. "Mark, what are you talking about?" Mark smiled evilly. "It's okay. It's not like we've never kissed before. Just treat me as an ordinary handsome man and enjoy this kiss." Mark leaned down and kissed her on the lips. The crowd burst into applause. Evelyn was stunned, frozen to her spot. Mark kissed her and then reluctantly let go of her. Evelyn blushed and covered her face. She lowered her head. What was Mark doing? Why did he kiss her? She kissed her brother. She didn't want to live anymore. Fortunately, Mark was still laughing evilly at the side. "Your lips are so soft." "Shut up. I don't remember raising you to be such an immoral child. I'm ruined, completely ruined." Evelyn covered her face and felt that she had done something shameful. Yes, he was indeed in trouble, because she would never have thought that Harvey would be watching TV at that moment. Norman recognized Evelyn when he saw the kiss. He blinked and said naively, "Wow, isn't that the model?" "Why?" Norman felt a chill all over his body. He shivered and turned to see Harvey slamming a fist on the table. Then the cup split. Norman shrunk back and looked at his handsome face, which had turned completely black with anger. Harvey's face was very cold. He saw Evelyn, that woman, standing in front of the TV screen. She was the center of attention. She was kissing someone else. What made him even more furious was that she was with her brother. "Evelyn, you slut." "Calm down, cousin. It's just a kiss cam. They just got caught up in the moment," Norman said, holding his pillow. He felt sad and worried at the same time. He couldn't go to Quinn's place, and he couldn't go home. If he went to a hotel, his dad would suspect him and his sister of something and ask questions. After thinking for a while, he decided that the only place he could stay was his cousin's place. This guy couldn't go on a rampage. Harvey's face was stiff. He suddenly stood up and walked upstairs. He picked up his phone and made a call. Because of the noise during the game, Evelyn couldn't hear her phone ring at all. Harvey kept calling her, but Evelyn didn't pick up. Harvey was furious. This damned woman dared not to answer his call. Was she feeling guilty? Scared? Huh? "Don't think I'll let you off just because you don't answer my call." Harvey walked out of the door with a dark expression and headed straight for the stadium. Harvey walked into the stadium angrily. He had gone there impulsively. What was he going to do? Evelyn's younger brother was obviously in much trouble. Would he appear and take her away? Things could probably get very problematic. That was why he did not appear in front of the two of them. When the game ended and there was a sea of people, he could not find Evelyn and that stinking brat. Harvey couldn't swallow the anger in his chest. Evelyn was the woman he wanted. Another man touched her. What was going on with that strange little brother? He was indeed acting differently. He kissed his sister. Take him and Raquel, for example. If he were to kiss Raquel's lips, killing him with a knife would be better. The fact Mark kissed with a smile and beaming with happiness was odd. Brat, we have to investigate you, Harvey muttered coldly. He looked at the stadium and calmed down. He drove back to the house and went straight to the study. Norman looked at him in a daze. What's going on with his cousin? Evelyn went to the coffee shop to check voicemails and noticed over 20 missed calls on her phone. When she saw the call log, Evelyn's heart almost stopped beating. Why did Harvey call her so many times? Did he discover something? She felt guilty, but she did nothing. Besides, Harvey couldn't be at the game. How could he know about her and Mark? What's wrong, sis? Mark asked, sipping his drink. Evelyn quickly smiled at him and said, I'll be back soon. My coworker called me to change shifts. I didn't receive it during the game. Evelyn stood up as she spoke. Mark did not doubt it at all. He nodded, and Evelyn went to the bathroom. Evelyn hurriedly called Harvey as she tried to settle herself. It was fine. It was fine. Harvey was just calling to check in. The call went through. Before Evelyn could say anything, Harvey's bitter voice came from the other side. You're finally willing to call me back. Evelyn held her forehead and closed her eyes. Shit, he knew. Evelyn took a deep breath and said, It was a misunderstanding. It was an accident. Because it was a kiss cam, the audience was waiting for us to do it before they moved on. There was no other way. Harvey's voice was extremely cold. The kiss displeased him. He said, Is that so? I think it's very enjoyable to see you blushing. Come to me and leave your brother. I already said no. Harvey, how can you twist people so easily? I hate that the most about you. Evelyn was so angry that she could barely speak, and she retorted bitterly. When this man got angry, he didn't know how to say things normally. That was enough. Speaking of which, where did he see it? How could he see it so clearly? There was a moment of silence on the other end of the phone. When Evelyn had wondered why Harvey had stopped talking, the phone hung up. Evelyn was so angry that she stomped her feet. Was he a child? Evelyn was flustered and irritated as she called again. She received a notification that the other party had sent her straight to voicemail. Her fingers trembled, and Evelyn walked out of the bathroom angrily. Childish. Childish. She hung up the phone and turned it off. She would ignore him. Evelyn walked far away and saw a pretty girl standing at Mark's side. The girl was carrying a bag on her back and talking to him. Mark's face was stony as he spoke to the girl. Evelyn blinked and looked around. She could vaguely feel that Mark was chasing the girl away. The girl lowered her head. She looked like a pitiful little animal. Evelyn sighed at the poor soul. She should have taught him how to be gentle with women. How could he treat girls like this? He couldn't become a good man if this was how he acted. If he became a man like Harvey, she would have to cut him from her life and pretend she had never had a brother. Walking over, Evelyn grabbed the young girl who was about to leave. The young girl was shocked and wanted to shake off her hand. Mark hurriedly held the girl's hand and warned her, Crystal, this is my sister. The girl called Crystal was shocked. She opened her eyes wide and quickly bowed. Hello. Without waiting for Evelyn to speak, Mark hurriedly said, Ignore her. She just had something to do here and was about to leave. Evelyn snorted. She knew he was lying to her. This girl didn't want to leave. Evelyn pulled Crystal toward her with a slight smile and said, I'm sorry Mark is not very welcoming to you, but don't look at him badly. He is a good boy, and you don't have to hurry right away. Sit down. Evelyn, Mark said, shaking his head. Crystal was a member of the organization. He did not want her to be involved in his private life, but Evelyn knew nothing about it. She knocked on his head and said, How often have I told you to be nice to girls? You scare them. Crystal knew that it was time for her to leave. The boss had allowed no one from the alliance to take part in his private life. But when Crystal saw the boss, who always had a bitter expression on his face when he was on a mission, reveal all kinds of expressions in front of his sister, Crystal suddenly couldn't bear to leave. She wanted to see more of this man's expressions and know him better. So Crystal sat down. Mark didn't want his private life to be mixed with the dark life he led, but Crystal was intrigued to learn about the other side of this assassin she liked. Would Crystal's curiosity lead her into trouble? Was this the first step towards Evelyn getting in touch with the life Mark had kept hidden from her? Episode 87, Wolf's Den. Mark frowned and flopped into his seat. He saw Crystal was looking at him. Mark gave her a warning look, and she clenched her fists tightly. She knew what her boss was trying to tell her. Their organization was very secretive. They couldn't even tell their family members. So his sister probably didn't know about the boss's other life. "How old are you? Are you one of Mark's classmates?" Evelyn asked. Crystal nodded obediently and said, "Yes, Mark and I are classmates." Evelyn smiled and said, "Don't mind Mark's bad attitude. He's normally a friendly person when you get to know him." They sat together and drank coffee. Evelyn chatted with Crystal for a while. Evelyn tried to engage Mark to chat more with Crystal, but he looked unhappy and didn't say anything. When they left, Evelyn paid the bill and followed Mark. Evelyn stared at him and said, "Why are you treating a girl this way? That girl is quiet and beautiful. She's so nice." Mark puckered his lips, not wanting to discuss it with his sister. Quiet and pretty? She only knew this version of Crystal, not the girl that cut someone's throat. The girl's skills were sharp and ruthless. There was no such thing as quiet with her when she was working. "I don't like her. Why should I try to engage her?" Mark said unhappily. "Please, send her away. Let's go home, or we'll go somewhere to eat if you like." "No, you can drop her home. Don't you have any sense of being a gentleman?" Evelyn objected firmly. Mark was so angry that he gritted his teeth in silent protest. Crystal remained sitting in her original position, looking at the backs of Evelyn's and Mark's heads in a daze. She thought of Ray's words. A woman who was this important to him was equivalent of his heart. Seeing his brother and his sister together, Crystal was sure that the sister was her brother's heart. Evelyn returned after paying the bill and smiled at Crystal. "Crystal, let Mark take you home. We'll see each other again soon. Next time you can come to our house and I will cook for you." "Thank you," Crystal replied, nodding politely. Mark looked reluctant, but he did not want to upset Evelyn. Because Evelyn had already said that she would make his favorite meal for him tonight, and the only prerequisite was that he had to take Crystal home. Otherwise, there would only be leftovers for him. The thing he hated the most was the cabbage in the fridge. Ugh, he didn't want to eat it. After exiting the coffee shop, Evelyn headed toward the subway. Crystal and Mark watched her leave. The expression on Mark's face immediately changed. He looked coldly at Crystal and said, "Don't tell anyone about what happened today." Crystal's heart skipped a beat. She nodded and said, "Okay, I understand. I won't tell another soul." This was the boss she knew, and his expression was cold enough to scare her into obedience. She liked the boss, but he had two very different sides. She wanted to take a step closer and know more about Mark. She wanted to get closer to him and become someone he treated as special, like his sister. Her heart was beating fast. Crystal held the bag in her hand before she said nervously, "I won't say anything. I think you were very charming. Evelyn is a very nice person. So, boss, can you privately—" "No," Mark interrupted her coldly. He did not need her to continue. He understood where she was going, but he could not allow it. "I won't break the rules, and I won't say anything," Crystal defended herself nervously. The wind blew and the cicadas chirped. Mark put his hands in his pockets and suddenly bent down to smile at her. "It has nothing to do with the rules. I will not let anyone get between my sister and me. My time only belongs to the two of us." As expected, she still couldn't just let it go. She had to continue working hard to make Mark look at her in a new light until he was willing to open the door to a possible relationship. That's right. His sister was the one who accompanied him in the light of day, so she would be the one who accompanied Mark in the shadows. That would have to be good enough for now, Crystal thought. Mark called a taxi for Crystal. In the end, he did not take her all the way home. He could not wait to go home and have dinner with Evelyn. However, Evelyn called Harvey while on the subway. The phone was still switched off. Evelyn blinked and frowned. Evelyn's imagination ran wild on the subway as she returned home. The day was very relaxing, though she was still confused and worried as she readied for bed. That night, Harvey was still not reachable on his phone. Evelyn kept tossing and turning, unable to sleep. Mark went to school the next day while she worked the night shift. Evelyn went to work looking very distracted. She had been wondering if Harvey would show up. When it was 4:00 in the afternoon, the manager suddenly appeared and said to Evelyn, "Evelyn, there is a very troublesome customer who refused to accept his order from the normal drivers. He hates men very much, so you take care of him." She was a little reluctant. I don't want the order. I feel that nothing good can come out of it. Solemnly, the man took out a $10 bill from his pocket and said, "Because it's a very big client, the other workers asked that I give you this to induce you to help." You are too kind. Well, since it is one person, I will take care of it. Evelyn saw that the money was in his hand, so she immediately took the money with a smile and started to head off to take care of the customer. The manager nodded solemnly and said, "You will do well. This customer is important, so you can be done with your shift after that delivery." She quickly gathered the order and got into a cab. She happily observed the bright sun. Evelyn scratched her head. That money clouded my mind, she thought, thinking back to the manager's handling of the request. It was only 4 o'clock, and the manager had already told her to go home after delivering the meal. Could it be that the customer was a pervert? Would he do something to her? She was a tad stunned to think about her manager putting her in danger if he knew his employees were asked to do something uncomfortable. He looked very timid. As the scenery passed, the directions sent Evelyn to a house, where the door opened the minute she walked up the stairs. She carried the delivery, but didn't see anyone to take it from her at the door. Evelyn pushed open the door and said politely, "Hello? Is anyone here?" The huge house was empty, as if no one was there. Usually, a servant would appear in a house like this, just like at Harvey's house. However, no one responded to her. Evelyn walked in and continued, "I'm a delivery driver, and I'm here to deliver the food. Is anyone here?" Still, no one answered Evelyn. The house was filled with echoes. Evelyn placed the food box on the living room table and looked around. Strange. Where did they go? Why didn't anyone appear? Just as Evelyn was hesitating, she heard the sound of footsteps. Evelyn hurriedly ran to the source of the noise and said, "Is anyone there?" The last time Evelyn was on the cruise ship, she was caught chasing a figure. This time, she followed the footsteps to the long corridor when a figure appeared in the corner. Suddenly, a hand covered her mouth, and she felt fear grip her insides, and her heart started to beat erratically. She didn't understand her bad luck at encountering another terrifying incident. Her heart almost jumped out of her chest as a husky voice sounded by Evelyn's ear. "Little rabbit, why are you so careless? This is a wolf's den and you barged in. I'm going to eat you." Evelyn blinked her eyes. That voice. Wasn't this Harvey's voice? What was he doing? This guy was a terror and needed to behave. Her mouth was released and her arms were pulled behind her. Evelyn felt her hands being tied up and she cried out, "Harvey, what are you doing?" The person in the house was indeed Harvey. He had set Evelyn up and let her walk into the trap. After tying Evelyn's arms, Harvey lifted her and gave her an unruly smile. "You will know very soon." After Harvey finished speaking, he carried Evelyn to the second floor and threw her onto the bed. Evelyn's arms were restrained, causing her a struggle to sit up. She leaned against the bed and stared at Harvey. "What do you want by deceiving me like that?" Pervert! He was indeed a pervert. This man tricked her into coming here. What exactly was going on? Harvey looked at Evelyn on the bed and felt better. He had been very angry with her since yesterday. The woman's unrepentant attitude was infuriating. Harvey flicked his wrists and looked bewildered. "Of course I tricked you here for yesterday's matter." Evelyn glared at him angrily. She was confused. "Why must you punish me? I didn't do anything wrong." "You still dare to say that?" Harvey leaned forward angrily and grabbed her chin. His dark eyes stared into her eyes. "1 crime. You let a man kiss you. 2 crimes. You did so with your younger brother. 3 crimes. You still have an attitude with me over the phone. How dare you say you hate me? Do you want me to take drastic measures?" Staring at his glaring eyes, she pouted her red lips. "I already said it was an accident. Why blame me if you don't let me explain? Furthermore, why should you punish me if I kiss anyone?" Evelyn's mouth was suddenly covered by his lips, and her words stuck in her throat. Harvey fiercely kissed her and looked at her sternly. "Say 1 more word, and I will make it difficult for you to get up from the bed. If you don't believe me, you can try it. Tell me again, it doesn't matter who you kiss." Evelyn's heart skipped a beat. This threat was starting to affect her. Harvey was super angry now. Obviously, he believed he should hold power to restrict who she was with. Evelyn pursed her lips and said, "I won't kiss anyone. That was an accident. Don't be angry anymore." Harvey lifted her chin, his eyes focusing intently on her. You can't kiss anyone except me. I don't want to kiss you anymore, Evelyn replied in her heart, but she didn't dare say it aloud. Continuing to inflame his anger would never end well. Evelyn frowned and said, Can you let me go now? She did not have a brain. There was a problem, yet she still foolishly thought this was no big deal. Her innocence was a sin. Let go of you? Why would I let you go? Harvey crossed his arms and looked at her coldly. He was very disdainful of her request. Evelyn was stunned and frowned. What do you plan on doing? Harvey raised his eyebrows. From now until tomorrow morning, I will imprison you in this bed. I think you should be able to figure out what you will do even though you are stupid. Considering the things you did yesterday, and that you did not immediately come to me to apologize for your misdeeds, I will punish you. Evelyn's face alternated between red and white as she angrily roared, You crazy person! You can't do that kind of thing! Yes, I can. Harvey nodded happily. He reached into her pocket and took out her phone to find Mark's number. Harvey put it by the bed. Evelyn looked at him in horror. Hey! What are you doing calling Mark's phone? Evelyn opened her eyes wide. Harvey narrowed his cold eyes and smiled. His smile was devastatingly handsome. I was thinking if you continue to have this attitude, I will do a live broadcast of what happens next to your brother. When demons did bad things, they loved to ensure others knew about them. That was what this demon of a man was proposing, and she had no words for a moment. At this moment, Evelyn looked at Harvey. That smile that would make all the women fall for him now made Evelyn shudder. The devil himself smiled back at her, and he would attempt to devour her in the next second. Evelyn only felt a chill move through her, and goosebumps cover every inch of her skin. Her face was contorted angrily as she tried to stop Harvey. I'm warning you, don't make such a bad joke. I will get angry. Just what does this bastard want? How could he do such a thing? Is that so? Then be angry and experience what I felt yesterday. Harvey raised his eyebrows, took off his tie, and put his hand on Evelyn's shoulder. Evelyn's face turned pale, and she almost cried. Why did it have to come to this? However, when Harvey saw Evelyn this angry and upset, it did nothing but propel him forward to further torment her. If I untie your hands, you can put them to good use later. No! Evelyn screamed, but the scream stopped there. What happened next almost made Evelyn collapse. She was worried this bastard would make a call. Evelyn had been on pins and needles, worried about Mark finding out. She did not expect him to make good on his words. From dusk until nightfall, her body was drenched in sweat as Harvey used her body over and over until she was almost dehydrated. Evelyn thought she had fallen into the devil's trap. After the last intense tinkling of sheets, Evelyn fell onto the bed without any strength. Harvey was in good spirits. He kept riding each new release, relaxing just a bit more. He raised his eyebrows and said with a compassionate look, My anger has finally subsided a little, but this kind of thing cannot happen a second time in the future. Do you understand? As Harvey spoke, he placed his head on Evelyn's forehead and looked into her eyes. The look he gave her was again compassionate and caring toward her. Evelyn's heart trembled. After a long time, she used all her strength to spit out the word, bastard. Harvey curled his lower lip and gave her a light kiss. I see you have not learned your lesson. He picked up the phone beside his bed and played with it. Honestly, I was planning to make this call all along, but now is the time. What would this call lead to, and how would Evelyn face her brother after this? Episode 88. Let's help Raquel tonight. Evelyn opened her eyes wide and gazed at Harvey with a face full of fear. She saw him reach out his hand to push her slightly wet hair behind her ear as she turned her head to look at him. Your brother's actions were completely abnormal and made me very angry. I wish I could tell him you belong to me, and I am the only one who can touch you. While that might be my desire, I realized that you would be angry, and I was unsure how you would react. Due to that, I did not call him. He did not know when it started, but he still cared about her opinion, even when he was furious. Evelyn blinked her eyes. She did not expect Harvey to give up on something he wanted to do based on her emotional state. Was this something he normally did? This arrogant, high and mighty man tried to put himself in her shoes. Harvey leaned down and closed out of the contact list on the phone. He raised his eyebrows at her. But there's still one thing that hasn't changed. Remember it clearly for me. You are mine. Even your brother can't touch you. Evelyn's face turned red. Because she was weak, she could only argue in a soft voice, I am not yours. His heart was racing. Anger, shame, and other emotions took hold of him. He didn't like being stared at by this woman as if he was the devil, and he knew that he could win her to his side given time. You will be mine sooner or later. Harvey let out a confident announcement. Evelyn looked down and did not dare look at his handsome face. She knew from the start that he was going to be her downfall. Everything in this space smelled of Harvey, and there was no escape from him. After her body recovered a little, Evelyn went to take a shower. Harvey was very considerate and suggested he assist in washing her up. Evelyn shivered and refused. She had a sense of foreboding, and she could not take the risk. After her shower, she felt she had slightly recovered her strength as she sank into the tub of rose petals, trying to further relax her muscles. Soon her stomach reminded her she was hungry. When she came out of the bathroom, she found that the bedroom door was open. Evelyn smelled the fragrance of food in the air and her taste buds watered. She could vaguely smell her favorite shrimp and even prawn, which she liked a lot. Evelyn pouted and snorted, acknowledging that at least Harvey still had a conscience and would prepare dinner for her. Otherwise, she would feel even worse than she already did. She looked down the stairs and saw Harvey standing by the window making a phone call. Evelyn blinked and walked down the stairs, not wanting to disturb him. The room was very quiet, so Evelyn could vaguely hear Harvey's voice. I hate those fancy parties. I don't want to go. Why must I bring that woman with me? Restrain yourself? I don't have the word restraint in my dictionary. You don't have to worry about my manners. Are you threatening me? Other than that, what else do you know to do? All right, you win. I will bring Sierra with me. That's all. The phone hung up. Evelyn held the handle of the stairs and looked at Harvey's back. He was angry and holding back his anger. She could tell from the tightening of his back muscles. Although she did not hear the full content of the phone call, she could guess that it was probably someone who asked Harvey to bring a woman named Sierra to a party of some sort. She felt that she had heard of this woman somewhere before. Was she a celebrity? She couldn't remember who it was, but she thought it sounded familiar, as if she had heard it somewhere before. Was Harvey going to take the woman to this party? It seemed like he was very resistant. The person who made the call was probably his grandmother, which made her assume the woman in question was one the family liked. Suddenly, Evelyn felt that she wasn't that hungry anymore. She stared blankly at Harvey's back as she felt herself suffocating. Harvey seemed to have noticed the strange silence behind him. He turned around and saw her biting her lower lip. When did you come down? Why are you so quiet? I saw you standing there. I was wondering if I should interrupt you and risk your anger. Evelyn panicked and hurriedly lied. She did not want to say that she heard the phone call because she wasn't interested in his excuses. Childish. Harvey raised his eyebrows. Evelyn rolled her eyes. I could say the same about you. Who was more childish? He had tricked her into doing this, yet he still had the nerve to talk about her behavior? After all, even though he was CEO of a large company, many of the things he did were extremely immature. Harvey walked in front of her. Because Evelyn was 2 steps taller than him on the staircase, Evelyn crossed her arms and looked at him warily. What do you want? Harvey looked at her and said proudly, I gave you a bath gel that smells the same as mine. Evelyn blushed and stammered. It's just the smell of bath gel, so don't make a big deal. Besides, the smell in his body was not the smell of shower gel. The smell was naturally emitted from his pores and belonged to him alone. It was dangerous and alluring, and a smell that no one could replicate. Her hair was still damp, and her red face looked adorable. This spot was perfect for kissing. Harvey held Evelyn's hair as he thought about it. He leaned toward Evelyn and kissed her. I wouldn't mind it at all if you wanted to kiss me. Evelyn's lips were burning as she pushed his hand. I'm going to eat." Harvey knew she was shy. He approached her and asked, "Do you want me to carry you?" "I don't need that. I can walk by myself." Evelyn curled her lips and walked to the dining room by ducking under his outstretched arms. Harvey followed her. He was in a slightly better mood. After walking for a while, Harvey's cold voice suddenly sounded behind Evelyn. "Speaking of which, you wouldn't be taking a bath with your brother right now? That is abnormal behavior." "Harvey!" Evelyn was so angry that she stomped her foot. "If you say such a disgusting thing again, I will get really angry." Harvey smiled and walked over to her and hugged her from behind. He leaned his head on her shoulder and said meaningfully, "That means you're not angry about what happened in bed, right? If that's the case, the Wednesday date is on." Being hugged so intimately in his arms made her face extremely hot. In her heart, she couldn't help but curse Harvey for being cynical in his mistrust of her and the horrible things he continued to say about her brother. Why is this guy even talking in circles? Seriously annoying man. Although Evelyn knew he was wrong, she just needed to eat a big meal to let him make it up to her in some small way. After sitting down, Evelyn looked at the table full of delicious food and didn't stand on ceremony as she dug in. Harvey only ate a little while Evelyn made up the difference. After dinner, Evelyn looked at her watch and said, "I'm going home." Harvey frowned. "Why are you going home? Are you not prepared to stay here tonight?" Evelyn pouted. "This place is very far from where I work. I have an early shift tomorrow. Don't tell me you want me to change shifts or get paid to take the day off. I don't want to. I want to work hard, so I'm going back home now." "No." Harvey interrupted her before she could finish her explanation. He said in a deep voice, "I will take you back tomorrow. You have to stay here tonight. Stay with me." Evelyn frowned. He sounded like a petulant child. "Stop messing around. I have already done what you wanted me to do. Let me go back." Evelyn continued to argue. Harvey took the chance and said, "If you talk about going back again, then I will take you upstairs." Evelyn was shocked. She curled up the corners of her mouth in surprise. "You're just being ridiculous now. Do you still have the energy?" "Do you want to give it a try?" Harvey curled his lips in a wicked manner. Evelyn shut her mouth. All right. Harvey was just full of energy. She knew that. "Fine. I won't be going back home. You'll ensure I get a ride back tomorrow morning, right?" Evelyn frowned as she compromised. She also warned, "First of all, you're not allowed to do anything else." Harvey nodded. "We still have a lot of time. We can watch a movie together." Maybe it was because the old woman called him and forced him to take Sierra to the party that he was in a bad mood, so he wanted her to stay with him. Sitting together on the bed in the bedroom and watching an old movie felt weird, like they were newlyweds. Evelyn couldn't help but want to slap herself when this thought materialized. She always thought about 3 or 4 things at a time. Harvey watched Evelyn fall asleep in a daze, her head resting on his shoulder. The lights were off in the room, and the only source of light was the TV screen. Harvey looked at the woman sleeping on his shoulder. It was a quiet, small face. Harvey lifted his hand to stroke her hair. He lowered his head and kissed her hair, letting her lean on his shoulder, and continued watching the movie. He couldn't sleep now. He would attend Raquel's birthday party tomorrow with the woman he hated. The old woman's meaning was obvious. She was calling the shots on this one. The family was threatening him again. Sometimes Harvey wanted to just abandon them all. He was so smart and could do many things if he left his CEO role with the family company. Sometimes he wanted to abandon everything, but that madness was just a thought. In the end, the old woman's threat was still valid until he had full control of the Cage family. Looking at the sleeping Evelyn, Harvey had a feeling he did not fight back. Evelyn might suffer because of him. He also did not know what was wrong with him. In the past, he would not care about the lives of others, but now he would not be willing to let them make trouble for Evelyn because of him. Do you know how troublesome you are?" Harvey poked her cheek with his finger. Her cheek was soft and cushiony. After Harvey poked her, it immediately bounced back. Harvey poked her a few times. Evelyn, sleeping soundly, seemed to feel that someone was teasing her. He bared his teeth and laughed aloud when he saw her hands trying to bat him away. The next morning, Evelyn got up screaming. I'm late! Evelyn sat up anxiously. Harvey was angry that she woke him up. He glared at her and said, "Don't make noise. Go back to sleep." Harvey pulled Evelyn back onto the bed and pressed her tightly against his chest as he spoke. Evelyn stared at Harvey in exasperation. "I can't sleep anymore. Get up, liar! You're a liar who said you wanted to take me to work." Harvey covered her mouth with his hand. Evelyn kept crying out and was still flapping her arms. After 5 minutes, her behavior made him angrier. This troublesome woman had been told that it's okay if she could not go to work, yet she had woken him up and told him to do just that. "It's all your fault." It was already 8:30 by the time she finished washing up. Evelyn had a look of anger on her face. Harvey frowned. He hated the heat of the Monday morning sun. He looked at Evelyn and said coldly, "Are you stupid? It doesn't matter if you were late today. You should be late because your manager tricked you into coming here yesterday. That's why you were late today. You make it sound like it's someone else's business. In the end, you were the mastermind," Evelyn complained. This person was good at forgetting responsibility, but she would not fall for it. "Accomplices are also criminals." Harvey raised his eyebrows. Evelyn had no way to retort. She thought about how serious the manager was. If it weren't for him, she wouldn't have been trapped by Harvey until now. Thinking about it like this, she recognized that the manager was the one who caused the trouble. It had nothing to do with her. After dropping Evelyn at work, Harvey stopped Evelyn in front of the restaurant and said, "Don't forget the date on Wednesday." Evelyn looked like she wanted to say something, but she hesitated and nodded. Okay. In fact, she wanted to ask him if he would not attend the party and if he might be delayed. She thought it would be better not to ask. Harvey would manage the time himself and let her know. She had no status in his world and did not have the right to ask too much about his matters. When she waved goodbye to Harvey, Evelyn felt a little conflicted. She cared about the young lady called Sierra, yet she was happy with Harvey despite everything. On the way back to his home, Harvey received a call from Norman. On the other end of the phone, Norman said, "Cousin, I'm home. My dad asked me to come back and help prepare for my sister's birthday tonight." "Is your dad lining up men to force on Raquel?" Harvey asked. Norman sighed. "That's right. My dad was very excited when he invited Mayor Bigman to the party. Besides, my dad has made him a key target to befriend as he is young, promising, and has a powerful family. My dad almost wanted to make the decision for my sister and force her to marry him." "Luke? He's a good man," Harvey said, raising his eyebrows. "Your dad pushed Raquel too hard." "My sister only wants to celebrate this birthday with Zach," Norman said sadly. His sister would be 22 years old on this birthday, but she couldn't even celebrate with the person she liked. How pitiful. She was born into a family that had so many rules. If his sister couldn't be with the person she wanted to be with, she would always remain sad. Harvey said calmly, "Let's help Raquel tonight. My partner will be a disgusting partner anyway. I will find something to do, like throw up in front of everyone. That would be inappropriate." "Good. My sister's birthday will be just as she expected with my cousin there," Norman promised. He hung up after chatting with Harvey for a while longer. Harvey thought he could help Raquel get out of the party and push her towards Zach, away from those promising young men. It would be good for Raquel, but would it be good for Zach, he wondered? It couldn't possibly have a negative effect. He made sure that Zach was given strong medicine, so he hoped that he and Raquel had found a way to communicate during their time with each other. What would Zach do when he gets to know that it was Harvey who had supplied the drug to sedate him? Would Harvey's plans to rescue Raquel from her own birthday party be successful? Or would she be forced by her father to choose a groom and forget Zach once and for all? Episode 89, Harvey and Sierra. There was nothing but a bed in the room where Zach was held captive by Raquel. He was sitting on the edge of the bed. He was wearing pajamas, and though they were the same color as the ones which were given to him the first day, they had been changed. Zach looked up at the window and fell into deep thought. Today was Raquel's birthday, and the party would be held at the massive Cage family mansion. Raquel's father must have been very excited about her 22nd birthday. He has invited a number of son-in-law candidates to attend this party. Raquel would then choose a good husband to be engaged to and marry him a few more years down the road and lead a storied life. Zach felt a sharp pain in his heart and found it difficult to breathe. Zach, do you think my dress looks perfect? Raquel's voice was heard when the door to the room was pushed open. Zach turned around and saw Raquel wearing a red dress. The delicate handmade patterns were perfect for her skin tone. Raquel looked so beautiful. He thought the younger version of Raquel and this more mature woman were both breathtaking. It's beautiful, Zach said sincerely. Raquel smiled sweetly and happily. Really? Then I will wear this tonight. The party will not be held here, but I will be back soon. Zach, you have to wait for me. Also, walking in front of Zach, Raquel put her arms around his neck and said coyly, I want to hear you say happy birthday to me first. Zach looked at her pretty face, and he knew he would do anything to make her happy. He almost knew what she would do next. But because it was Raquel's birthday today, Zach still smiled and said gently, Raquel, happy birthday. Thank you, Zach. I exist in this world for you, Raquel murmured and kissed Zach's lips. There was no response, as Zach just calmly let her kiss him. Raquel felt a little uncomfortable. She couldn't get a response from the person she loved, no matter how passionate she was. How could she not feel uncomfortable and lonely? Though it was frustrating that Zach did not return her kiss, she calmed and reminded herself that she had to be good, as this was Zach, the man she loves. Raquel let go of Zach. She still maintained her smile and said, In that case, I will go. Zach, I will see you tonight. After Raquel finished speaking, she turned around and left the room. Zach's lips still carried her sweet fragrance. He leaned against the bed, closed his eyes, and pressed his hand on the mound in the front of his pants. Ugh, it felt repulsive. He said he would never touch Raquel. He kept avoiding her, but he had the urge to kiss her simultaneously. How thirsty and disgusting was he? Zach lowered his head. He felt like he had sullied Raquel. Don't say that you exist in this world for me. Raquel, I will go crazy. The sound quietly dissipated in the room. Raquel walked out of the house and took a long look over her shoulder. The summer breeze brought with it hot temperatures. When she was 14, an overzealous admirer was in the same class as her. They got along pretty well, and one day he kidnapped her and wanted to harm her if she would not be with him. He said she wasn't good because she didn't sweat much even in summer. That person told Raquel it was all her fault. How could a man not want to get close to you and embrace you? It just so happens that you're the young lady of the Cage family. Who would dare to take you in such a way? I want you, but I can't afford to offend the Cage family. She was afraid. After she was saved, she started feeling self-loathing. Later on, she gradually heard rumors from school that because she was a young mistress of the Cage family, that classmate's family had been chased out of New York. The young man who had hurt her was disposed of and was never seen again. Everyone was afraid of her after that. She was her own best friend because everyone was afraid of offending her. Her classmates were only friendly to her because they did not want to get on the Cage family's wrong side. She felt that the whole world was going to abandon her. She became more introverted, more lonely, unable to go to school, barely able to speak. When Zach appeared. That year, Zach was 24 years old. His face was cold, and he gave off a sense of aloofness. She thought he was the same type of person as her, but that was not the case. She hated this world, but Zach just wasn't good at expressing his feelings. He was slow and inexperienced. He gave her candy every day, and he never got tired of it, probably because, though he wasn't good at comforting people, he wanted to comfort her. Then he didn't bring any candy one day, and she asked for it, and for the first time, she saw Zach in a panic. He was so young and cute, yet showed a flustered state of mind when facing a 14-year-old girl. He was really an immature adult. She had found the first real person, the first person she wanted to get close to. She had a feeling that she would fall in love with this person, and in doing so, life would not continue to be so dark. His hand could lead her to another bright and beautiful path. She followed this instinct and walked towards him without hesitation. And then the world changed. Zach, you know what? I didn't lie to you. I think I exist in this world for you. If it weren't for you, my life would have been ruined when I was 14. Though I was young when I felt I fell in love with you, I never regretted choosing you. Now, too, I will follow my will and continue to love you." Raquel turned around and got into the car. Tonight was her birthday, but it probably wouldn't be a happy birthday party. The car slowly drove out to meet the Cage family at the big mansion. Norman only came back in the afternoon. He hugged her when he saw Raquel and said, "Sister, happy birthday. This is my gift." Raquel took it from him and saw that it was a liquid in a crystal bottle. She asked curiously, "What, perfume?" Norman pulled her close and whispered in her ear, "A strong ecstasy drug. I'll give you a hand. I've already agreed with my cousin. Tonight will help you manage your escape from the party ahead of time." Raquel tightened her grip on the item in her hand and could not help but laugh. "You are indeed my dearest younger brother. Then I shall accept it with gratitude." When the party started, it was already 7 o'clock. Sierra anxiously paced back and forth in the family's house. Her heart was hanging by a thread. It couldn't be that he wasn't coming, right? The beautiful purple dress, the beautiful coiled hair, and her image reflected on the floor-to-ceiling windows were stunning. It would have been meaningless if she did not have a man to appreciate her. She watched him all this time, remembering her father's words when she saw him on the big screen. "You might become CEO Harvey Cage's bride." Thinking that she might marry him, her love for him grew. She wanted him to like her very, very much, so she had to show her beautiful figure to him. He would come. The family's matriarch had already spoken, so he would come. Young miss, Harvey is here." The maid's voice sounded in the house. Sierra's eyes immediately lit up and she turned around anxiously. "Really? Is he here?" "Yes, he's outside the house right now," the maid said. She was happy for the lady. Sierra immediately left the house happily. Sure enough, the low-profile and elegant sports car was parked outside. Although it was a pity that Harvey didn't get out of the car and wait for her, Sierra was already overjoyed. The driver got out of the car and opened the door for her to get in. Sierra saw Harvey in the car. Today he was wearing a white suit that looked like a military uniform. It was very elegant looking. His hair slicked back, which made his eyes look even more exquisite, adding a bit of charm to his overall look. Sierra's heartbeat was chaotic. Curbing her excitement, she greeted him. "Harvey, you look so handsome tonight." Harvey glanced at her coldly. He pursed his lips and said nothing. She probably wanted him to give her a polite compliment too. "I'm sorry," he said, not at all in the mood to fill her head with compliments. It would be more accurate to say that looking at her made him feel bored. He put his hands in his pockets and looked out of the window. Harvey was silent and there was no music playing in the car. The atmosphere was extremely awkward. Sierra took the initiative to talk to him, but did not get his attention. She was also a little embarrassed and did not know what to say. The atmosphere was heavy, and the two drove to the manor in total silence. There were already many people milling around when they arrived. Harvey's grandmother was in the inner room with some elders. The older lady's expression was still as serious as usual, and she asked Raquel, "Is your cousin here?" Raquel smiled and said, "He's already on his way here. There was a car accident on the way, so there was a traffic jam. He did call me." Raquel and Harvey's relationship was really good. She lied without missing a beat or feeling bad about the words she spoke. Who knew where that guy was? She didn't like the old people of the Cage family very much. She even disliked people of her father's generation, because this generation still believed in the old way of matching civil status in this era through arranged marriages. She was annoyed when she thought of that. Today was even more excessive. Her father wanted her to pay attention to Mayor Luke Bigman, saying he was almost certainly her future husband. Her future husband? Other than Zach, she had never considered anyone else. She did not want any young or up-and-coming mayor. She did not want any good man her father selected. At this moment, Raquel did not know that the mayor was also troubled by this party. In the car, Thomas looked at him expressionless and said, "What are you doing? You've been here for more than half an hour, yet you're still sitting in the car. Are you a snail or a turtle?" Luke smiled bitterly. His deep brown eyes were filled with helplessness. "Don't be so sarcastic. I feel overwhelmed. You know the senior Mr. Cage intends to marry me off to his daughter. I'm not interested. Marriage within the Cage family is a good thing. Furthermore, that young lady in question is an extremely intelligent and good woman, Thomas said. Luke smiled bitterly. So should I take advantage of it? Of course not, but I think it's very rude of you to look so distressed. Luke really couldn't do anything about Thomas's hateful tongue. He could only sigh and put his hand on his forehead. All right, stop lecturing. I'll go in later and seriously reject this proposal. He didn't want this kind of marriage at all. Although he had seen a picture of this young lady, a very beautiful woman, but she was not really his type. If he had to describe his type, a picture would appear in his mind whenever he closed his eyes. Her long hair fluttered in the wind, and she looked weak and pure. He had said, "Hey, I'm hungry, and I want to buy something to eat. Do you have any money you can spare?" She swallowed hard and said with a trembling voice, "I don't have any money, but I do have a hamburger here that is delicious," holding it out to him so sweetly. Luke laughed. He found it funny no matter how many times he thought about their first meeting. Her eyes had been interesting and captured him immediately as he ate the food she offered. "What are you laughing about? You're already late for the party." Thomas raised his voice slightly and pulled him back from his memory. Luke quickly sat up straight and looked at his watch. He had to go. The party would officially start at 8 p.m. It was already 7:30 p.m. Luke opened the car door and let out a sigh. He looked down and wondered why he had thought of Evelyn. He was thinking about the type he liked. Did he fancy little scared women? That was not possible. After all, there was no chemistry between them. He couldn't figure it out. He felt like he just wanted to see her, not love her. After tidying up his suit a little, Luke walked over to the party. Just before the entrance, Luke and Harvey ran into each other. "Harvey, long time no see." Luke stretched out his hand and said, "Mayor Bigman, good to see you." Harvey held his hand. Looking at Luke's dignified and elegant appearance, Harvey sighed in his heart. It was no wonder Raquel's father liked him so much. He indeed had the appearance of a good man, and his temperament was reserved and gentle. Harvey had seen him a few times when he had just taken office, but he had not had much interaction with him. The mayor did not want to build a good relationship with the businessmen, so he did not get close to them. He always did things according to the rules. Harvey did not introduce Sierra. He did not even look at her. Luke was smart, so he naturally didn't take the initiative to ask. After chatting for a while, Luke nodded slightly and left. Sierra was anxious by Harvey's side. Feeling wronged, she said, "Harvey, you should introduce me no matter what, right?" Sierra's arrogant words made Harvey very unhappy. He looked at her with a cold smile and said, "Introduce you? You aren't anyone to me. Why do I need to introduce you to people? In the end, I brought you here tonight only because my family dictated me to do so." Sierra felt her heart ache when Harvey said this. She quickly replied, "But Harvey, Grandma has already said we are getting married. Can't we get along? I will be a gentle and virtuous wife. I will be loyal to you. Even if you do not know me well, it is fine. Just try to get along with me. I will not let you down." Sierra was very anxious. Even if it was a marriage arranged by the family, she still wanted his approval because she liked him. Why? Why did he hate her so much? She had already done her research. Her face and figure fit his taste very well. He had been with many models similar to her. But why did Harvey not even look at her? When would Sierra understand that Harvey, the arrogant man who showed compassion for none, was not paying attention to her because his heart already belonged to someone? And when the realization would dawn on her, would she back out? Or would Evelyn face the anger of the conniving Dolores? Episode 90. A Resounding Slap. Hearing Sierra's pleas for acceptance, Harvey looked at her disgusted and said coldly, "It seems like you don't have a high IQ. Can't you see that this mansion and I are people that go together like fire and water? The old woman likes her desires to be satisfied by any means possible, but this time she has overestimated the means. You are just a means." He hated stupid women. After all, Evelyn was taking all his time, energy, and motivation currently. Therefore, he did not have the energy to share more of himself with this woman. Sierra's face instantly turned pale. In other words, it had nothing to do with her. Just because of her relationship with the family, she was being judged? This was too unfair. No, I can't agree with this. It is unfair to me. Sierra was unwilling to accept this. Harvey smiled coldly. He walked up to her and threatened her in a warning tone. Either you leave now, or shut up and pretend to be a silent statue next to me. Don't make me waste my breath. As for your expression, it is your own business. Harvey let go of her arm and walked inside. If he had met her normally, he would have not even looked at Sierra. Sierra gazed at Harvey with a determined sparkle in her eyes. She felt uncomfortable and angry, but so what? If she did not take the initiative to chase after him and hold his arm, then he would not stop for her. This was the proud Harvey that made people love and hate him. Sierra took a deep breath, chased after Harvey, and took hold of his arm. Harvey looked at her. Sierra smiled and said in a low voice, "Even if you don't want to, Harvey, I still have to stand by your side. I still want to be Mrs. Cage." Harvey raised his eyebrows but did not say anything. This woman was stubborn. She was similar to Evelyn, but her trait was completely unlikable compared to Evelyn. If he had said those words to Evelyn, she might have thrown her shoes at him. Even if he meant it as a compliment, that woman would do it. Before the party started, Raquel's father, Leonard, deliberately led Raquel to Luke. Luke was gentle and elegant, but Raquel was not interested. Her attitude was polite, but cold. Leonard grabbed his daughter and said in a low voice, "Later, when the party starts, invite Mayor Bigman to dance with you." Raquel frowned unhappily. "This is my birthday. It's my prerogative to party with whoever I want and select at the beginning of the dancing." Leonard's face turned cold and he said, "What are you talking about? Although it is your birthday, it is also a blind date dinner that I have carefully arranged. A good man like Mayor Bigman can give you a lifetime of happiness and will care for you. Don't give me any trouble." Raquel clenched her teeth and her fists tightly. She had always known that her father was greedy because the company belonged to Harvey. Her father did not have the right to inherit the company, so he had always been looking for an opportunity to rise to a higher status. Her brother had worked hard and created an entertainment empire. She had thought that this would be enough, but who knew that he was still not satisfied? No, not just in business, but in the field of prestige. Once people are addicted to things like power, they become greedy. She did not want to dance with Luke, but it seemed like she would need to compromise. She could not ruin everything right from the start of the party. She turned to look at Luke, who was also looking at her. He smiled at her, and Raquel snorted and turned her face away. Thomas said to Luke, keeping his face schooled, "Congratulations, Mayor. I hate you for the women you can attract." Luke raised his eyebrows. "It seems so, but I think this young lady is already taken. Based on that, I can feel at ease having fun, knowing she won't expect more." The lights dimmed and the dance started. Raquel would lead the opening dance, and her red dress swayed to the beat. Norman suddenly appeared when she was about to walk over to select Luke as her partner. A young man wearing a white suit with a bow tie stood before her and bowed slightly. "Beautiful young miss, can I invite you to dance?" Raquel looked at him and was stunned. She saw him winking at her and felt a wave of suspicion and joy rise in her heart. Raquel also returned a bow. "It is an honor." No matter what, her brother always stood by her side. The two of them slid onto the dance floor together. Harvey glanced at the floor where he could see Leonard. Sure enough, he saw that his uncle was standing straight with an angry expression on his face. Harvey thought to himself, "I hope nothing goes wrong tonight." When the song ended, many people went dancing. Sierra looked at Harvey and said, "At least dance with me." Harvey looked up and saw an old figure walking through the crowd. He said in a cold voice, "I won't dance. I only promised to bring you to the dance." Sierra was rejected repeatedly, and she gloomily picked up her wine glass to drink. It just so happened that a group of women had already noticed that she came with Harvey and excitedly ran over to ask about it. Sierra was a little carried away by the excitement over Harvey. After Raquel finished the opening dance, she was pulled aside by Leonard to be lectured. At the same moment, some attendees were eager to talk with Raquel. Raquel was just about to refuse when Leonard glared at her. "Daughter, today is your birthday party. Don't ruin the mood of the guests." Raquel didn't want to be lectured continuously. She nodded reluctantly and went dancing. Norman walked to Harvey's side and stood still. He was a bit depressed as he said, "This is my sister's birthday. My dad is forcing her to do things that Raquel doesn't want to do." Harvey smiled coldly and did not hide his disdain at all. "Isn't this what the Cage family is always like? They have always been so unyielding." Norman ground his teeth and said gloomily, "I can't help with anything." He liked his sister very much. When he was young, his sister would always hold him and smile sweetly at him. Later, when her ordeal happened, he was very anxious but could not comfort his sister no matter what. Seeing his sister's sad look day after day made him very sad. It was Zach's appearance that changed everything. He was grateful to Zach and hoped that his sister would be happy with him. He felt that anyone who truly loved his sister should be grateful to Zach for putting the light back in her life. However, her father would never allow his sister to be with Zach. "Ask Raquel to pretend she is drunk when she thanks the guests later. Take her away. I'll talk to your father," Harvey said. Norman blinked and said, "Really?" Harvey raised his head and said confidently, "Of course. I always keep my word." Norman was happy to hear this. Although he was sometimes angry that Zach had taken his sister away, he still hoped she would be happy. His sister should be with the person she adored. Norman thought to himself as he looked at Raquel, "Just bear with it a little longer. We will save you if you keep up the act a little longer." Raquel was holding in there on the other side of the room, but she was reaching the point where she couldn't take it anymore. "Raquel, your hair smells so good. What kind of shampoo do you use? Your father said that you hadn't had a boyfriend up until this point. I was very surprised when I heard that. I didn't expect you to look so beautiful yet so pure. I like this contrast." Ugh, it was disgusting. Raquel felt that although she had not suffered from a fear of men for many years, at this point she felt like her old illness had returned. It was disgusting. All the men in this world, regardless of what they said or the intentions in their eyes, were also detestable. The song ended and Raquel retreated and wanted to escape, as she could tell she was about to be nagged again. Raquel wanted to run away, but found her father looking at her with warning eyes. She would be punished. Her freedom would be restricted, and she would definitely be reprimanded at the end of the dance. She had to go to Zach's side as soon as possible, but right now she had no options but to continue to endure it. While she was suffering, Luke walked over and invited her to dance. Raquel wished she could put a foot down and refuse, but her father smiled approvingly. She could not help but take hold of Luke's hand. The grip was tight. "Miss Raquel, my hand hurts," Luke smiled. Raquel smiled. "Really? The mayor is weak." Luke felt helpless. That was why he shouldn't have this kind of internal good intention. He had been misunderstood by someone, so he had to clarify things. "I think you have misunderstood. I have no interest in you, and I know you do not have a good impression of me. Are you rescuing me? Can you please let me go?" Luke asked politely. Raquel blinked her eyes and hurriedly let go of his hand. She said with some embarrassment, "Sorry, I'm a bit off balance tonight." Luke said, "Yes, your father put a lot of pressure on you. I thought it would be better for you to dance with someone like me, who has no intention of doing anything to you, rather than those people ogling at you. However, I know I'm sticking my nose into other people's business." The two of them entered the dance floor. Raquel said in a low voice, "Thank you for helping me out." All she had to do was spend 4 or 5 dances and acknowledge people when they wished her happy birthday, and then she hoped her father would give up. "I think it's very good to be persistent in loving the person you like and not compromise no matter what," Luke suddenly said to her, not knowing if he had seen through her in some way. Raquel heard him and looked up. She couldn't help but give him a gentle smile. "Looks like you are a real gentleman." Luke smiled. "There was a woman who said that to me." "Someone you like?" "I don't think so, but someone very important to me who changed my life." Raquel was stunned for a moment and understood what he meant. He was a person who had changed her life in a small way tonight. "The person I like is the one who changed my life," Raquel said with a very moving expression. Her sweet, shy, flower-like expression warmed Luke's heart. Women in love are the most beautiful. After another dance, Raquel left. Leonard excitedly dragged her to the side and said, "Daughter, you and Mayor Bigman are doing very well. I think he is interested in you. Take this opportunity to set another date with him and not let him escape."
Dad, Mayor Bigman has someone he loves already. He just danced a few dances with me like a gentleman. Can you stop this? I won't date any man here.
Leonard said angrily, "What nonsense are you talking about? This is a party I arranged for you. Everyone here is the best of society, especially Mayor Bigman. He is in a high position and is young and promising. Even if he likes someone, he is not married to her yet. You have a chance."
Raquel was angry and asked, "Haven't you ever thought about my happiness? Do you know what kind of happiness I want?"
Leonard smiled coldly. "Your happiness? You are still so young. Do you know what happiness you want? Are you going to tell me about Zach again? What happiness can a man with no status give you?"
Raquel was boiling with anger and still wanted to say something. Norman appeared, tugging at her hand, and said,
"Raquel, it's time to thank the guests. Don't quarrel with Dad."
Norman was worried that his sister would be at a disadvantage if they kept arguing like this. Raquel looked at her stubborn father with a very ugly expression. She hated the look of calm confidence on his face when everything was under his control. Raquel turned around and walked up to the stage with her hands clenched. She was going to take charge of her life and feelings for Zach. Everyone on the stage fell silent. Raquel stood in front of the microphone and took a deep breath. She wanted to say everything in her heart at that moment. "Thank you very much for coming to my birthday party," Raquel said gracefully while the audience applauded. Leonard was pleased with his daughter's generosity and propriety. After talking for a while, Raquel looked down at the people below. She took a deep breath and said, "And on a lighter note, I have a few jokes to tell. All the single men here tonight need to find a real goddess during the next dance. The women here tonight are all amazing, and you might find your soulmate right here in this place." She was not serious when she said it, but kept a mask of indifference in place on her face. Laughter and applause came from below. Even Harvey could not help but smile. Taking a deep breath, Raquel's lips curled into a faint smile, and her beautiful eyes revealed a bright, happy light. Raquel said happily, "But don't think about me. I already have someone I like, and I can tell you I'm off the market. He is not some bigwig or high society member, but I love him very much, so I cannot consider anyone other than him. Today is my birthday, and I hope to receive everyone's blessings here. Thank you for coming, and I hope you can attend my wedding with my future husband next time." The surroundings instantly fell silent. No one had expected Raquel to say such a thing. The one who expected it the least was Leonard. The men who were invited to the scene were all baffled. Raquel had a private life partner? Then what was the point of them being invited? Were they being played? Norman stood next to Harvey. He did not know what to do. When his father is especially strict or just domineering, he is conflicted about family relationships. He was very scared. Leonard's expression at the moment meant he might do something rash. Norman wondered what he would do to his sister. In the midst of the commotion, someone started clapping. The crowd saw a handsome man, tall and erect, start to applaud. Thomas stood beside him, also applauding. Only then did the crowd begin to join in. Amidst the applause, Raquel smiled gratefully at Luke. Luke nodded and sighed. "What a good woman." Thomas nodded. "Yes, but it has nothing to do with the mayor. The mayor has been running into good women lately, but none of them have anything to do with him. What is that about?" After being mocked by him again, Luke felt helpless under Thomas's unfiltered truth. Raquel walked off the stage, and there in front of her was her father with a foreboding face. He said angrily, "Look what you've done! What nonsense are you talking about? What private life? How could you say such shameless words? Who taught you to act like that?" Raquel looked at him stubbornly and said firmly, "Dad, I am not your tool. I only like Zach and will be with him. I do not want anything that you arranged for me." "You dare to say such things to me! Ever since you were a child, I've been worrying about you, planning for your life, yet you say I'm using you! You ungrateful daughter!" Leonard slapped his daughter's face, causing many people to gasp. The hall was filled with guests. When Dolores saw the slap occur, she slammed her walking stick on the ground and angrily demanded, "What are you all doing? Have you all lost it?"